Okay. So
So
you
just
can see me okay?
before you start, I'll quickly make you a host so you can
Yep.
mute and mute everyone you want to.
Mhm.
The show is yours.
Awesome. How much time we got?
How much you want?
Okay. All right. So, thank you. For those, I don't know if anybody does know who I am or what I'm about. I've been in this game for about 37 years. Jeff Miller was one of my coaching students a few years back. And I've been watching Jeff over the years grow an incredible business and apply, I guess, his knowledge, understanding, and his experience through his learning of building an amazing community, an amazing business. And so I've kept in touch with Jeff and recently said, hey, I'm looking for people to do some coaching for my people. And I said, hey, anything I do to help. So my just a 30-second of who I am. 37 years in this business. I've started three very large agencies. The largest agency we built to $60 million in revenue, annualized revenue in 7 years. Had my own other full stack agency. We built that to $30 million in 8 years. Currently, I have an agency that we've built to $3.8 million in 1 year. And we have another agency we've just launched, which we're probably going to hit the 85K run rate within about 2 months. We're well on the way to our planning. I've helped probably right now about 148 people actually build $0 to $1 million in their agency. And so that's been fun. Right now, I have about 200 people that I kind of coach, but I'm really managing my portfolio of businesses and developing, I guess, what we're looking at in terms of investing in the future of marketing in relation to agencies. So that's me in 30 seconds. What I wanted to talk to you about is I kind of want to be really pragmatic. I don't want to. I was going to do this amazing slide presentation and all this information to give you some perspective, but I'm a big believer in making sure that people action what they want to intend to do. And a lot of people in this game get caught up in the tech, they get caught up in fulfillment, they get caught up in, I'm not talking to enough clients. They're getting caught up in all the ducks, putting things in a row rather than focusing on things that will actually make an impact. So I've been working on a process over the last 6 months to try and speed up the process of engaging um, clients in conversation, and then how do we take that conversation and transition that very quickly into a sales opportunity. So that's essentially what I've been doing in the market. So to give you perspective, um, there's all of us do cool things, right? To our clients or the people we work with or we engage, the stuff that we do has a direct impact on their ability to grow. So we all have the cool thing. The challenge is because we know our cool thing too well, it's not that cool to us, right? It's not as exciting because we're always talking about it. We're always in communities, and so we're in a room of familiarity. But outside this world, when you talk to people, you're a brain surgeon in what you do. The knowledge you have of the service you provide, you're essentially, although you might be doing this for a year or two or three, or even if you're just kind of starting out, your knowledge level is much higher than the general market's knowledge of what you do in most cases. So, so you're a brain surgeon, but oftentimes in our business, we undervalue what we do. We don't realize the true impact that we can create. And so our charge out rates or what we charge tend to be very similar to other people in the same game. So, there are still people out there charging $500 for Facebook ad management. There's people charging $1,000. I work in a realm where my clients charge 5 to 10 grand a month for Facebook ads management, but it comes with a big ad spend, right? Because with a big ad spend, you get results, right? You're going to get more feedback. You're going to be able to have leverage. And so it's just a mind shift, right? This is a mindset shift. So there are levels in this business, so depending on where you are on this journey. You're going to be in the mindset level. The mindset level is to get to about 20K per month, right? 80% of what you do is in your head. To get to 20K per month, what you are doing is you're essentially you're generating referrals, you're doing cold outreach, you're doing all the things that you're learning how to do and running. You might be running some ads, but you get to that 20K. That's the mindset phase. 20K is 240K a year, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The next phase is the sales and marketing phase. Once you hit 20K, you kind of know how to sell, right? You know how to close deals, you know how to get clients. You hit that 20K mark, the next milestone is 50K. Or actually, really, the next milestone is 85 grand a month, $1 million run rate. But the change happens around between the 30 to 40 mark. $30 to $40,000 mark, you're actually starting to have to hire specific people to scale. Now, if you hit the 30 grand mark, it'll take you, if you hire 2 people, it'll take you about 4 months to go from 30 grand to $1 million run rate. It'll take about 4 months to hit that run rate, right? You just 2 people. The 2 people is somebody who's setting appointments and the next person is selling. And it's not you, it's somebody else selling, right? So it's an SDR and a salesperson at that 30 to 40 mark. That's where you want to be looking for this person. If you're at the 30 to 40 mark, to get to $1 million run rate, 85K, you need to hire those 2 people, right? Because the fulfillment, you've probably got dialed in, but you can always buy fulfillment. But sales is something you need to develop. And when you hit that 30K mark, you know how to sell. You know how to sell your service, you know how to close deals. You've already got the essence of what you need to hand over to somebody else to go and do the heavy lifting of appointments and the heavy lifting of sales. Once you hit that 85 grand mark, you're going to start thinking more strategically at a leadership level. So you need to hire somebody for operations. You need an operations manager, right? That's the person running your business. They're across everything, right? You need to be developing and leading your business at that stage, but you're going to have operators at that $1 million run rate. From $1 million to 5, it's actually a faster journey from $1 million to 5 million than it is from 0 to 1 million, right? The journey to 5 million is just sales. It's just literally scaling sales, right? So the most critical hire for anybody in this business that you are in is what we call an executive assistant. An executive assistant will take over 3 people's roles, right? They're going to take over 3 people's roles. They're going to be part of your operations, they're going to be part of your marketing, and they're going to be part of your admin support. So they're working and shadowing with you, and they pretty much are worth 3 people. A good EA is worth 3 people. A good EA if you're using somebody externally is you can get a good EA, not a VA, an EA, Filipino EA for about $1,500 a month. It's not a very expensive hire, but that person will change the game for you because they're going to take all the pressure off all the things that you shouldn't be working on, right? They're shadowing you and they're going to take care of that. So from a milestone growth, that's what you're looking at. If your average sale is 3 grand, it's 27 clients that gets you to $1 million run rate. That's the milestone, 27 clients. It's roughly a little over 2 clients a month. You should be aiming for 1 client every 10 days. You should be bringing on a brand new client in your agency every 10 days, right? From there, you want to make sure you're dealing with the right clients, right? Because you need to look at your margins and you got to look at a 70% gross profit margin, 30% cost margin. That 30% includes your salary. That 30% includes your salary. The 70% is not you as a cost, right? That's what you get. That's what the company gets to keep. You're going to pay your taxes. Out of $1 million business, you should be able to keep 250 grand cash net after taxes in your bank account, and you should be able to keep $150,000 as a salary. That would be your average salary at that level. So you're pulling out 400 grand in the business, a couple of $100 grand to grow the business, and the rest is in costs and taxes. That's roughly what your numbers are going to look like if you're doing it right. Okay. So at $1 million run rate, you should be able to pull $400,000 out of the business for you. 150 in salary, 250 in net profits and dividends out of the company. One thing from a business point of view, do not use your business bank account as your personal bank account, right? If you haven't learnt this lesson, you will learn this. You'll end up with a tax liability. You all of a sudden end up with a real big bill that you're going to pay the IRS because you use the income of the business as your own personal expense account, right? Don't do that. You need to pay yourself a salary and separate the money. If you don't separate the money, you're going to end up owing the money to the IRS, and it's going to hurt. It means you have to go and get a whole bunch of sales to go and pay a tax bill. So you're paying a deficit and a liability. So from a business point of view, do not use your business bank account as your personal bank account. Separate the two and pay yourself a salary, and always pay yourself first. There's a great book there's 2 books that I'd highly recommend that you get. One is called Simple Numbers. Just Google Simple Numbers. Every business person on the planet should read this book. Every agency should read this book. It's called Simple Numbers, right? So just Google Simple Numbers. The second book, a guy called Mike Michalowicz wrote it. It's called Profit First. Profit First. Those are the only two books that you ever need to read on finance, right? If you're running a business, you need to be in your finances. And as a business owner, this is one thing you really need to come to terms with. You want to be in your finances, right? So understand that those are two things. So from a revenue point of view, idea of where you're growing your business, roughly 27 to 30 clients get you to $1 million run rate if you're doing $3,000 a month. If you're doing less than that, do the numbers, right? But that's what it's going to take you. The goal, your number one goal here, is to get to your next paying customer. That's it. It's not to get to your next 5 or 10 or 20. It is to get to your next paying client. That is the goal. That's the gap that you want to bridge, right? That's where your intention and that's where your focus needs to be, right? So the question is what are you doing? Like, how long is it going to take you to get that client? And what are you doing? What are the things that you're doing to engage that customer? That's what you want to do, right? So I'm going to get into some tactical things that you can do, and I'm going to open up to questions in just a moment, but I kind of just want you to focus on the things that are going to make a direct impact on your business, right? So here's the thing. There are things that I've known as a KPI. There are 4 KPIs in most business from a business development point of view, right? Leads engaged, appointments set, presentations delivered, and cash banked. Leads engaged, appointments set, presentations delivered, and clients brought on board who pay, right? So sales, right? So how many leads did you engage today with an offer? How many appointments did you set today? How many presentations did you deliver today? And how many sales did you bank today? And oftentimes there's going to be days where that's just going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But if you're tracking that on a daily basis, just doing that alone, just tracking that, you're going to get very tired of putting 0 up on appointments. You're going to go and make an appointment, right? You're going to get really tired of not engaging any leads with offers. You're going to start putting some numbers up. So if you track that every day, right? Your working day, 5 days a week, how many leads did you engage with an offer today, right? With the idea of having conversation. How many appointments did you set? And your goal, if you're in this alone, should be 1 appointment per day. If you had 20 appointments in the month, you're going to make 3 to 5 sales in a month if you had 20 appointments. 1 appointment per day. That's all you got to do. It will take you 5 minutes to set that appointment. It might take you 20 minutes to set that appointment. It might take you 2 hours to set that appointment. But if you make that an objective, you will generate appointments because it's a very thing that is the lifeblood of your business. So if you focus on 1 appointment per day and did nothing else, you can do all the fulfillment and all the other stuff and watch videos and learn shit and do training all you like. But if you just did that one thing a day, that will change your business forever if that became your goal. 1 appointment a day. Because here's the thing. There's a thing called the law of averages, right? It's a standard thing that happens in every business. So the law of averages states that it roughly takes about 10 engagements to get 1 lead, right? So 10 prospects to get 1 lead. It takes 10 leads to get 5 appointments, roughly 10 leads to get 5 appointments, right? And from 5 appointments, your worst case scenario is you're going to close 1 deal, right? So the law of averages states that you've got to engage in 10 conversations to get 1 lead, 10 leads to get 5 appointments, and 1 sale from the 5 appointments. That is a basic, that's very basic. Like if you're doing 5 pitches, you should be able to close a deal, right? Because you're doing the same thing over and over again, somebody's going to buy. So that's the law of averages. That's the numbers you're going to play. So if you were to lay that over your month and said, I want to make 3 sales by the end of the month, right? Well, you're going to engage with about 90 people, right? Those 90 people are going to turn into 30 appointment opportunities, right? 30 appointment opportunities is actually going to turn into about 15 appointments, 15 appointments, it's going to turn into 3 clients every month, like clockwork. Play that game every month and you'll have 3 clients every month. Now you do 3 clients a month, 3 months in a row, right? You do 3 clients a month, 3 months in a row. Your average recurring revenue per client, right? I want you to think about that. So if you were onboarding 3 clients, write that number down. How much would that be? How much deposit would you collect if you collected 3 clients? And what's the monthly on that? So just write the number down, right? So you can see it. Okay, now multiply that average deposit by 3. And then if your monthly is roughly the same as your deposit, then that's your number, right? So now multiply that number that you get 3 times And then you'll see the number that you will generate if you just played this game in the next 3 months that you would add to your business. Now, how many people here, if you look at that number will change some things for you financially and lifestyle wise? Just type 1 in the chat. How many people believe, right, that if you were to play this game and you work out 3 months in a row, 3 clients, average investment, that will not only change the revenue of the business, but it would change your life? Everybody's putting in 1. Interesting, right? And now you have to ask yourself the question is, what is the reason why you're not doing that? Because what I've just suggested to you roughly takes about an hour a day. It roughly takes an hour a day to play those numbers. It's not a lot. And the reason why we don't do it is because we're not paying attention to it. We're not paying attention to getting our next client. We're paying attention to other things. We're fulfilling, we're learning, we're figuring out Go High Level, we're learning how to do Facebook ads or Google ads or automations or chatbots or whatever we're doing, right? We are not helping anybody with what we do. I'm going to talk about how you flip this around. The rule is 80% sales and marketing and 20% fulfillment. That's the rule. Until you're doing $5 million in revenue annual, that's roughly $450,000 a month in revenue, recurring every month. That is the ratio of what you need to build a business. 80% sales and marketing and 20% fulfillment. You can always, and you will always be able to buy fulfillment from sales and marketing. You'll always be able to buy fulfillment from sales and marketing. Do you get it? Because remember, 333 adds up to a lot of money. And you can afford to hire the help, right? You can afford to bring in the help. Or there's resources like UpX and all the other people that provide white label services out there that can help leverage your opportunity and scale, right? So that's the deal. The deal you're playing is get to your next client. That's the #1 objective. So how many people do you need to share your idea with to get to that paying customer? That's the goal, right? What are you going to do to get to that paying customer? That's the next goal, right? So understand that if you play the law of averages and you're consistent, that's how you grow really fast. The hardest growth milestone is $1 million. Only 3% of businesses ever make it. So for every 100 agencies that try to go for it, only 3 of them will ever generate $1 million in revenue. 3. That's it. That's the ratio, right? Because most people give up. Most people quit. So there's 2 types of businesses you can build here. You can build a lifestyle business, which is cool, right? Live in a different country, sit on a beach, work the hours you want to work, right? And do all that sort of stuff. That is what I call an apprenticeship. A lifestyle business is an apprenticeship, right? Generally, people will play that lifestyle business for about 2 years. After 2 years, you'll get sick and tired of being a slave to money, right? Because you're always looking for the next bill that you got to pay, right? And so what you're going to do is you only earn, you'll get comfortable and then you relax. You get comfortable and you relax. You end up in these up and down cycles of revenue, right? But at the same time of being comfortable and relaxed, you're learning things. You're learning how to get client results for clients. You're doing that sort of stuff. But there's going to be a moment, it happens to most people that I talk to, where they go, you know what, this is unsustainable, right? I need a future. I need to build a real business. A real business means hiring people. It means learning different skills. It means learning how to communicate, how to manage, how to scale. Very different skill set to just going and getting clients, delivering on the clients and making some coconut cash, right? Very different skill set. And that's the learning skill set. So generally, most people have to pay an apprenticeship of 2 years. If I talk, like I talk to a lot of 8-figure agencies and I talk about when they got started, everybody says, first 2 years, I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning, I was getting clients, I was losing clients, I was making money, I was losing money, I was learning, right? I was learning my craft. Right? That's your apprenticeship. Generally, it's a couple of years that most people pay. I like people to only pay a 6-month or a 3-month apprenticeship, right? I like to kind of get into the meat and potatoes as quickly as possible so we get out of the apprenticeship phase and get into the business building phase. That's the goal. That's my intent. So a couple of things. If you want to generate fast-paced acceptance of people in the marketplace, you want people to go and talk to you quickly, right? Here's what you want to do. You want to pick the thing that you do that is the coolest thing, right? The coolest thing about what you do, the thing that you like about what you do. You want to pick that thing, right? The question is, how does that make an impact? I'm going to give you an example in a moment. The question is, how does that make an impact on the people that you want to serve, right? Will that be cool to them? That's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the cool thing. So I'm going to pick on my our automation agency, right? We've got an automation agency. So we tend to work with financial institutions. Our average client pays about $5,000 to set up a basic automation. And then they're paying us about $5,000 a month. Average client for us is really $8,000 to set up GHL, Go High Level, and they're paying about $8,000 to $12,000 a month for support, right? But our clients are generating hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars a month. We don't work with small businesses. We're working with businesses who've got money, right? So that's the difference. And for us, if they employ our system, so this is the cool thing about us, we can literally generate 30% more revenue in your business with a 1% conversion rate, right? If we convert at 1%, we add, if you're doing, let's say you're doing $200,000 a month, right? If we convert at 1%, we add $80,000 on top of that $200,000 a month at 1%. That's a cool thing, right? So 1% conversion rate can literally, within 3 months, double the amount of revenue that you generate in your business with a 1% conversion rate. That's pretty cool, right? And that's all automation, right? We've figured it out. We've worked it out. We know exactly what to do. We know the numbers. We know how to make it work. But we do one. Now, our average client has a much higher rate than 1% conversion rate, which is cool, right? But our lead in is like, if we can convert at 1% and double your sales within 3 months, then you should be looking at this thing, right? So pick the coolest thing you do. If you're doing automation, or let's say you're doing Facebook ads. Right now with Facebook ads, there's so many tools that you can use where you can find campaigns that are working right now, that are being visible and actually converting. But you can literally go to the market and say, if I could show you the 3 best optimized campaigns in your market, and I can reverse engineer and we can help you get the same or similar results, or my goal is to get better results in these campaigns. Would you be interested in looking at the top 3 performing campaigns right now for your market? We optimize your Facebook ads and we want to make you win. And the only way we can win is win with a certain outcome of a current result that's working, right? Now, you don't even have to have the high performing ads. You can find them. You don't have to be the person to create the ads. You're not telling them that you built these ads. You're just saying, I know that these are the top 3 performing ads in the market. And we know the method or the formula that they use to leverage their sales. And we can take that idea and we can infuse it into your business and you can get the same or better results. That's a cool thing. If I was doing Facebook ads, that's a cool thing, right? Google ads, same thing. I would use a tool like PPC AdLads, find the top 3 performing Google campaigns within a market and know and understand why they're performing. So you'd see why the ad's optimized, why it's actually getting seen, why they're getting the click-throughs. You see all of that, right? You understand that. So if I can take the top 3 performing campaigns and go to the people at number 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the list and say, dude, your ads suck, because these guys are crushing it. But if I take these guys' strategy and overlay it over your methodology, your campaign is going to be optimally optimized. Are you open to that? So that's a cool thing, right? So whatever your cool thing is you pick one thing. Then what you want to do is you want to tell everybody about your cool thing, right? So there's 3 lists that I encourage everybody to do. If you want clients really quick, these are the 3 things you want to get going. We all have that device right there. We have a mobile device, right? In there's a whole bunch of contacts. You've got businesses in your mobile phone, businesses you've worked with, you've had that you bought from, that you are interacting with, or you know people who are in business. So the first list is download all the contacts you have in your mobile into an Excel spreadsheet. Second list, we all have email addresses that we've had for years. I had an email address, now I'm showing my age and I'm older than 25, but it costs a lot of money to look this pretty. But I've got a list in the email, right, from 1997. So that's a really old email account. And I've been using that email ever since. I still have that email today that I use as just my personal Gmail account, right? So I did this exercise. I went and looked for @business.com, @business.com. All the emails that were @business.com in my inbox, right? And on my inbox, there were 16,000 emails @business.com. Name a person @business.com. Right? So I didn't take all 16,000. I just took 2,000. From today's date back to about a couple of years at 2,000 leads. So 2,000 @business.com. And I put that into the spreadsheet. Then I went to my socials. I went to my LinkedIn and I went to my Facebooks and I went to my Twitters and I went to all my stuff. And then anybody that was following me, I would download that list and put them in the spreadsheet. So now I had a lead list, and you should be able to get a lead list of about 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? Very fast. Now, here's the thing. You want to let people know about the cool thing you're working on. Now, some of these people may not be clients, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. What you're trying to do is activate the opportunity to have a conversation, right? So what I'll do is I would do a very quick message. I wouldn't send out 2,000, hey, this is what I'm working on, this is a cool thing. I would just take a batch, 30, 50, 40, and just say, hey, I'm working on this cool thing right now. I know that it can get this type of outcome. What I really love to do is lay this over what you're doing and maybe see if you can beat the result. Are you open to a conversation? That's the message. I know this is being recorded, David, so I know that people are going to go back and listen to all my scripting here, right? So this is the cool thing we're doing. Yeah, well, this is a cool thing that we're doing. This is the outcome that we can generate from the cool thing that we're doing, right? I'm only interested in if I can show you the framework of how we can overlay that over what you're doing and beat the result with you. Are you open to that? Are you open to the idea? Would you like to see the cool thing, right? So right now in our automation thing, we do a reactivation campaign. We're sending people a link and say, do this link, play with the automation and see if this thing sells your service back to you, right? We got 13 appointments yesterday by sending out 25 messages with just literally saying, here's a link. This is the cool thing we're working on. Answer 2 questions and it will sell your service back to you, right? It'll ask you, asking you qualifying questions to sell your service back to you. It's an easy Goho level automation to set up, right? And so it does that. And we got 13 appointments out of 29 people we sent the message to, right? Because we could see who's playing with it, right? They have to put their email and message very quickly. And what it does, our little link gets people to an appointment, right? But the cool thing about it is if you stop getting to the appointment and you just keep talking to it, it keeps selling you on your services, right? So people see that and go, oh, that's really cool, right? It's a neat little trick, right? But it's the door opener for us to now overlay their business for a reactivation campaign. And we charge anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 to set that up. And we charge $5,000 a month to manage it. That's what we do. That's for one service, right? So the cool thing, what's the cool thing? And you want to talk about the cool thing, right? Now, here's the thing. Each of us have a familiar list. I'm going to tell you a story that until I realized that this happened, I thought how silly I was. You're in business. My mother used to say for years, John, when are you going to get a real job? Right? Like I was in the marketing game. I was in the advertising game. That was my world. I was a business owner. My mum said, John, when are you going to get a day job? When are you going to get a real job? What are you doing? She didn't know what I did. I said, look, I'm running a business. But no, I don't understand. When are you going to get a job? For 15 years. And so then what I did was I flew my mother up to our offices and I showed her where I worked, what we did, introduced her to the team, right? What we were really good at, right? And so now she finally, after 15 years, figured out that I actually did have a job. I owned a business, right? But here's the thing. A week later, my mother referred a client to me. A week later, my mother referred an $80,000 customer to me, right? And in that moment, it clicked as to why we should engage our familiar list. You need to let people know who know you, what you are working on. You need to ask them, do you know anybody who would benefit from what you're working on? You need to ask them and say, look, I'm working on this cool thing and I'm just showing, I'd love to get your feedback on it, right? You need to do this. I do this every single month with my familiar list. Every month, not once every 6 months or every year or every 2 years. Every month we run a campaign to say, hey, this is what we're working on right now. Do you know anybody who needs any help with this? Right? And we get clients from that. We get referrals from that in that process. So the cool thing you're working on, whatever the cool thing is, just talk about that, right? Say, hey, I've got this idea. I want some feedback. I want some people to look at this thing, see what this might look like, right? Now, here's the thing. I'm going to walk you through a conversation, right? I'm going to walk you through, I know this is recorded. I'm going to walk you through a conversation. It's a very, very simple conversation, right? But if you have this conversation the way I'm going to share it with you, you'll end up with a customer every time. If you do this thing that I'm about to walk you through, you'll pretty much end up with a client every single time you do it, right? So if you're showing your cool thing to people, you're asking questions, right? You want to know where they're at, what they're doing. You got to spend 85% of the time listening to what they're saying and only 15% of the time you are actually talking. So you're asking questions like, what are you working on right now? What's the cool thing that you're working on? Where are you heading? What are you doing? Tell me about your customers. What's happening with your sales? Are they up? Are they down? Are they looking good? Have customers changed behavior? You take an interest in what they're doing. There's three areas that you want to understand in the business. Number one, you want to understand how they acquire customers. The majority of businesses acquire customers through referrals, right? They don't acquire them through other means. They do, but the majority of people will say most of my business comes from referrals, right? From word of mouth. Okay. Some people spend money on ads. Those leads are colder than referrals. You have to work harder to close those deals, right? So there's two different levels. The people, you're doing a great job. People refer a customer to you. That's amazing. And you take it through the sales process. But what are the people who aren't referred for you? Tell me about that idea. What goes on there? Well, we've got to work it harder. We've got to sell. This is my sales process. This is a cycle. So what are they spending? Well, this is how much they spend. How long do they stay? Do they buy this every month, every quarter, every year, every 3 years? And you're asking those sorts of questions. And what generally will happen is that person is going to double cross you, right? The double cross is, hey, this has been a really good conversation because it kind of gives me some clarity around what I'm doing, what we're thinking. You've been asked some really good questions. I'm just curious, what is it that you actually do? And this is where somebody pulls out a credit card and it's not you. When they ask that question, here's where you go with that answer. I can do better than just explain it. Let me overlay it on top of your business and show you how it applies to you. Would you be interested in seeing what that looks like? And most people are going to go, yeah, that sounds really cool, right? So there are 3 pieces of information that you need to be able to help somebody. What is the thing that they want? What's the objective? What's the outcome? If you're in the business growth world, what are you heading for? Often when I ask people, where are you heading growth wise? What do you want? What were you thinking about this year? And most people will say 30%, 50%, right? That's what most people will say. And you will take that in and go, oh, okay, 30% growth rate. What you nearly need to do is get a number, right? So what you want to ask is, what does 30% in extra revenue over and above what you're doing represent? And they might say, well, that's like that's like $300,000. Great. What's your average sale? Well, average sale is like 2K. So you're telling me to hit your 300 grand, you've got to get 150 sales over and above what you're doing right now, roughly about 12 and a half sales a month, and roughly 4 sales a week over and above what you're doing to hit that 300 grand based on your average sale of 2K per deal. Yes? They go, yeah, that's exactly what we need to do. So do you have a structured plan, objective to get that outcome? And they'll go, no. Well, how do you think you're going to get there? How are you going to hit that? Right? And they go, oh, well, we're obviously going to, do what we need to do. And that's very ambiguous, right? So you can say, you know what if we actually laid a plan and actually got you there? If you're doing Facebook ads, you can figure out how many leads you need to get, right? How much money you need to spend very quickly to leverage that person's position into the outcome they're looking for. So the number one piece of objective, the idea that you need to draw from people is, what do they want to achieve with what you're talking about, right? What is the goal? What is the real goal? Because then it's about them and not about you telling them how cool you are doing Facebook ads. And this is how we do Facebook ads. You should be focusing on 2 things, the what and the why. The what and the why, right? So now you've asked what the objective is. Then you want to say, why is that important? Why is it a must for you to achieve that? That's the next question. Tell me why it's an absolute hell yeah must that we achieve this goal. Tell me that, right? And they're going to go, these are the reasons. Well, we want to expand. We want to hire people. We want to bring new product category in. I want to buy a couple of jet skis. I want to take my family on a holiday that I've promised them for the last 5 years and haven't taken them on. Whatever the reasons are, you're going to write down the reason. You're going to feed back to them. So you're telling me this is the objective you want, and this is why this is a must. Is there anything else you want to add to that? That's the next question. And they might go, yeah, it'd be really cool to actually build the asset value or the profit value of this business because one day we want to sell it. Okay, great. So these are the reasons. So this is what you want, and these are the reasons. So tell me why. What's stopping you from bridging the gap from where you are right now to where you're heading? What's the thing? What's the issue, right? And they're going to say, don't have the resources, don't have the skills, haven't really thought about it, no plan. All the reasons. You're going to write them all out. These are the reasons why this isn't working. Because you can say you want this, and if you don't have a plan, which they don't in most cases, and then, well, what's the bottleneck, right? Well, let's map it out, right? And so now you know the bottleneck. Now, here's the thing. You are the bottleneck releaser. They're going to hire you to bridge the gap to do what you say you want to do, right? So now you're going to say, okay, these are your bottlenecks. So I want to ask you, this is really important, and here's the reason why that's really important. Would it be a good idea for us to collaborate on putting a plan together to actually make that a reality? Would that be something that you'd be open to? And they're going to go, yeah, right? Okay, great. So let's work on a plan, right? And you're going to show them the plan. You're going to show this is the plan that bridges the gap from where you are to where you want to be. And this is how we eliminate some of those bottlenecks and get you moving in the direction you want. And here's how you turn the conversation into that plan. And here's how you close the deal. If you do this sequence, you don't have to ask them to buy. They will just buy. If you do this, so this is at the whatever minute mark of this conversation, it's about 35 minutes of this conversation. Yeah, about 30 minutes of the conversation. Or 40 minutes, sorry, about 35 minutes. 35 minutes of conversation, just go to this part of the recording, all of you that are here. Anybody watching this, you can fast forward to now. So here's what you say. So now we've got the objective, what they wanted. We've got the reasons why that's really important to them. We've got what's stopping them from getting them and how you're going to help them bridge the gap. And then you're going to ask them this question. You say, tell me what you really like about this plan. And they're going to tell you what they like about this plan, right? And then you're going to ask them, why is that important to you about this plan? And they're going to tell you why that's really important, right? And then you're going to ask this next question. A lot of people don't ask the question. It's a really simple question. You're going to say, what would change? What's your worst case scenario here? What would change if you did this, because you don't have this right now, but if we implemented this, in your opinion, what would happen? And they'll tell you that, well, we will crush it. We're going to actually hit the objective. We're going to do the thing we say we've always wanted to do, right? Great. What would happen if you don't do this? We're going to stay the same. We're going to same problems, same frustrations. Is that acceptable to you right now? Is it acceptable for you to expect what you're experiencing? Or do you want the worst case scenario of that? What's your worst case scenario? And generally the worst case scenario is going to be better than where they're at, right? So the next question is where they buy. You're going to say, so what do you think we should do with this plan? And they'll say, okay, how do we do this, right? And you say, you know what? Because you've given me the time, I'll do this at family rates, mates rates. Here's how it's going to work. Now, it's not a discount. Your family rates are your current most expensive rate. That's your family rate, because your family rates are still too cheap. You're still discounting on your current full price of your service. So you're not losing any money. You're not discounting money. You are doing them a favor by charging them a full price because you're not charging enough. So that's your family rates. You're going to make the money, right? So you're going to walk them through and say, look, this is how it works with us. This is what we need. We need an initial installment to get this thing going, and then we can start this phase. What do you think we should do next? And they're going to say, how do I pay you? Right? So if you follow that sequence, pretty much 80% of the time, they're going to buy. So think about the logic in this. You've now built a plan that is real to them for something they wanted. They tell you why that's really important to them. They've told you why it's not happening. You've now helped them on how to make that happen for them. Now you're asking them what would happen if they did this thing, because they're not doing it right now. And they're going to say, it'll be where we want to be, right? Now, if you didn't this thing, we're going to stay the same. What are you going to say? They're going to say, no, we don't want to do that. Okay, great. So what do you think we should do with this plan? And they're going to say, how we do implement this? And you're going to say, because you've been kind enough to spend this time and collaborating on this, I will give this to you at what we would charge our family, which is your current full rate. That's your family price because it's too cheap, too discounting, right? And you're going to charge full rate, right? And you're going to give people two options. You're going to give people the option to pay for the whole thing up front for a year, right? Or you're going to give them a payment plan and you're going to let them choose, because it's a yes or a yes. It's not a yes or no. So you're going to say, hey, a lot of people, you know what? If you pay for this up front, I'll give you another 10%. It's 36 grand for the year. You can save 3 grand if you pay me 33 up front. Or, right, you can put a deposit down of $10,000 and we charge you 2 grand a month for the service, which would suit you best. And they're going to go, I'll take the upfront payment. 15% of the people will pay you upfront for a whole year. So now you've got no churn issue, right? You've got a year's worth of customer. And at the 9-month mark, you're going to book them in for the next year, right? That's how I'm going to go through those questions again, right? What's the objective? Tell me what that is, what that looks like, right? Let's break it down, right? Why is that really important to you? Why is this a must to hell? Yeah, we've got to do this, right? And they're going to do this. Then you're going to say, well, you know, this is what you want, but you're not doing it. So what's stopping you from doing this? Don't have the plan, don't have the strategy, don't have the skills. That's you. So if we put together a plan to actually make that a reality, you're okay with that? They're going to go, yeah, I'm cool with that. So then you give them the plan, you show them the plan, and you say, great, tell me what you really liked about this idea. this plan. Tell me about the thing. They go, I like this and I like that. And I think that's cool. We're not doing this is exactly what we need. Great. Why is that important to you? Tell me why it's important to you, those things. Well, for the first time, we're really clear about where we're going, what we're doing. I can see the pathway. I can see that we can actually do what we say we want to do. Like all of that. That's why it's important, right? Great. What's your best case scenario if we were to implement this? They go, oh, this would be best case. So now you don't have this, but we implemented. What's your worst case scenario? Can you live with the worst case scenario? Does the worst case scenario still appeal to you? They're going to go, yeah, absolutely. Everyone's going to say yes, because it's better than where they're at, right? So then you're going to say, okay, so what do you want to do with this plan? What do you think we should do? And they go, okay, well, how do we work? How do we do this? They're going to ask you, how do we do this? Well, great. Let me walk you through your options. This is how we're going to do this. And you're going to give them 2 payment options, right? This is our family rates. You can save a little bit more money, right? Take a little bit more cash from us, save 10%, pay for it up front. Or here's the deal. You put this deposit down and you take the payment plan. Which would you prefer? Some people will go, I'll give you all the money up front. A lot of people will go, let's do the payment plan. Now, if they struggle with the payment plan, adjust the payment plan. It's very easy. But they want to buy it if you take them through that process, right? So when we started this thing, what is your cool thing that you're going to tell everybody about? That you've got to lead with one thing, right? And then you want to get people into this conversation that I've just walked you through. And then once you do that, you've got a client. So another way to do this, to spin this, is you kind of do it in the reverse. And I'll explain what that means. So if you want to generate a client every time, so I've shared this strategy with thousands of people. The people who do it get clients. The people that like the idea and never do it, they don't get clients. It's really amazing how life works, right? Do the shit that works, you get clients. Don't do the shit that works, you don't get clients. Incredible. So if you really wanted to get a meaty client, right? Think about, and I'm going to talk about niche in just a moment. I'm going to stop and I want to answer your questions as well because I'm looking at the time. If you had a meaty client, right? One of the things that you want to do is you want to act like you're working with them, right? You want to act like you're working with them before you're working with them. So what do I mean by that? There are businesses, all of you here can help businesses with what you do. All of you can, right? And so for me, the question I'm asking is, how would I help this business? What would I do to help this business? So I'd go and do a little bit of homework on the business, right? What do they do? How are they marketing? I might even call their sales team and check out how they do in sales, right? What are they selling? What are they doing? And I would look at the business online, socially, review-wise, just like a footprint, right? And then my question would be, how does what I do make an impact on this business, knowing what I know right now? And I would create a little plan. I would say, look, if I was going to add 100, 200 grand or 300 grand to this business, here's the plan that I would do to add that revenue, and do the exact same thing I said, reverse the strategy and put it in, you can literally put this out. By the way, using ChatGPT or using Claude or Gemini, you can do this in about 15 minutes, right? You can literally create an entire business plan for a client based on putting in the few questions that you've asked, and it will just create the plan. It'll create the copy, the sales copy. It'll create the emails, the messaging. So you've got a little document, right? You might have a 13-page document that gives them all the ideas. So 20 minutes of your life to put this together. Now you go to the business and say, listen, I want to, the reason I'm reaching out to you is I really like your business. I like your product category. And I think like you, more people should be buying it. Do you agree? And so what I've done is I've actually purposely structured a plan to generate $300,000 to $400,000 extra revenue that I'd like to walk you through, and I'd love to get your opinion on the plan. Are you open to that? Right? That's the question. Now, do that 10 times and 4 people will say yes. 4 people will say, yeah, let's have a look. And so between you and them sitting down with you, you're going to let them know who the hell you are. So you want to say, hey, look, this is what we do. This is what we're about. This is how we help clients. This is how we get results. But what I'm really interested in is I kind of looked at your business and I really like the idea of adding this revenue to the business. And I just wanted to see if you're open to looking at the idea that I've got. Most people will say yes to that question, right? Now, remember, you picked them. They didn't pick you. So you're not going to pick a small ass business that's got no money. You're going to pick a bigger business that's actually operating with people and team and have got assets and they need money, right? So those businesses, they understand they've got a market to grow. They're the ones you want to pick. You're not going to pick the chiropractor down the road. Forget about him. If you're going to pick a chiropractor, go and pick a practice with 5 chiropractors in it. That chiropractor, I would do this too. But the independent chiropractor, I would not do this to. They're not going to spend the money, right? So you know what you want to charge. You're going to walk them through the plan. And then guess what? Tell me what you like about this plan. Tell me why those things are important to you. Tell me why you're not doing this right now. What's the bottleneck? So if we were to implement this thing, what do you think the impact would be? You're not doing it right now, but if we did that, what do you think the impact would be to you? Worst case scenario. Oh shit, if we did this, we're going to get 10, 15, 20%. Great. So what do you think we should do with the plan? You think you should give it a crack? I'll hand it over to you. You can do it all yourself if you like. Or would you like to look at it about how our team can help you implement that? And because I really want to make this work for you, I'll give it to you at our family rates, family and friends rates. Full rate, remember, your current price, family, friends, right? Full rate. Are you open to that? I'll guarantee you if you do what I just said for you to do, you'll pick up 1 to 3 to 4 clients easily. Easily. Because think about what you're doing. You're adding an enormous amount of value and you're thinking outside the box for their business. Some people, now here's the thing, if you don't get the client, guess what you're going to ask for? Do you know anybody that would benefit from this plan or this idea? Top of mind, who would be the person you think I should speak to? If it's not for you, who do you think should see this? They're going to give you names. They're going to give you referrals, right? They're going to give you names. They're going to give you referrals. So that's the opposite of what I just shared a moment ago, where you're invited, but this way now you're actually inviting yourself in that process, right? If you did one of those a week, you'd land a client a week. You'd land a client a week. Think about it, right? You got 5 days. I know that you can pull that plan together in 15 minutes, literally. I've done it. I've done it in front of people. It's not hard to do, right? So now you've got a structure. You can go to people, an idea to go to people with. Most people have got pitch decks and they're teaching people how to do Facebook and Google ads and automations, and you're teaching people. That's what they're hiring you for. They are not hiring you to teach them how it works. They're hiring you to get the result. So just talk about the result, the what it is and why it's important. The what it is and why it's important. The how is what they want you for. That's you, right? I see these pitch decks are like, this is how we're going to do your Facebook ads, and this is how we're going to do it, and they'll map it all out, and they've already written the ads, and they've created exam, and they've done all, and they've spent 3 hours putting a proposal together for a person that's not going to buy, because the person is not committed financially, right? So I'm going to share 2 tactical things, and then I'm just going to stop talking because I'm talking too much, and I want to help you and answer your questions, right? So number 1, I want to talk about niche, right? Because it seems to be a thing. I got to find a niche. I got to find a niche, right? Everybody says you need a niche. If you have a niche, you're in. You're gold, right? But most people think they've got the wrong niche. They haven't, right? There are 3 things you want a niche from a niche. 3 things. This is my tick box. If I have 3 ticks, I'm in. If I don't have 3 ticks, I'm out, right? 2 ticks, I'm out, right? 2 ticks, I'm out. So number 1, do you like this business? Do you like helping these types of people? That's number 1. Because if you like helping these types of people, you're going to help them, right? That's number 1. So that's got to be a tick, right? Number 2, can you get them a result? Can you get them a result? You can get them a result, that's a tick, right? And number 3, can they pay? Can they pay? So do you like working with them? Can you get them a result? And can they pay? Now, if you don't like working with them, we don't like the idea of working with them, and you can get them a result and they can pay, that's not going to work because you're going to hate working with them, right? If you like working with them and you can't get a result and they can pay, well, that's not going to work either, right? So it's a no, right? And if you like working with them, you can get a result and they can't afford you, they can't pay, that's a no. So you need 3 ticks. Do I like working with these people? Can I get them a result? And will they pay? Now, how do I know will they pay? I want to validate the market. There's this amazing thing called the total available market of what you do, right? I look for saturated markets. I want to be in markets that have got tons of competition. I love markets that got tons of competition. The reason why I love markets that have tons of competition is because everybody's spending money in the market. If you go to a market that has no competition, no one's spending money. You're going to go broke, right? You're going to starve to death because you're trying to push shit uphill in a market that isn't valuing what you do. So that's why people go to chiropractors and accountants and mortgage people and all those sorts of people, is because they're in markets that are spending money on what you do, right? But here's the thing with a niche. You got to get to know the niche. You got to get to know the niche. You got to get involved in the association. You got to get involved with business groups. You've got to get involved with people who influence in the market. You've got to connect and get to know this market. You've got to get to know how they get clients, how they close clients, what they're charging, when they charge, how often they do that, what their marketing is. You've got to do a little bit of homework on the niche, right? When you do that, you think, okay, how do I help this business? So if you were to do a plan, this is what I would do to help this business to get results with what I do. You know how to get a result. So now you want to just show people that, hey, look, at the end of the day, if you're looking at this type of service, this is a result. So I work with a person who's an SEO person. They've gone from 15 grand a month to about 60 grand a month in 2 months. 50 grand a month to 60 grand a month in 2 months. Here is her offer. We do SEO. Our goal is to get you seen. You want to look? That's it. Not we're the best SEO company in the world. We just want to make sure that you get seen, that people come to you. Do you want to have a chat about it? That's her pitch, right? She used to be, let me get you ranking on all the stuff that people do. Let me rank, let me create the content, the backlinking strategy, all that sort of bullshit. No. There's a guy called Neil Patel, very famous SEO guy, lives out of Las Vegas, dear friend of mine. His website, all you got to do is give your website. That's what he's asking. That's all he asks. The page is white. Neil Patel, best SEO guy on the planet, $200 million, or actually they're doing about, I think doing about 360 million in revenue as an SEO. That's not a bad agency. $360 million revenue for an SEO agency, right? Blank white page, right? Blank white page, and all it asks you is for your website. That's it, right? Biggest SEO company in the world. No copy. Just tell me what you want. Let's get visit to your site. Give me your website, right? And they get hundreds of people giving their website and taking the sales process. Hundreds of them every fucking day. Every day. Yeah. So understand with a niche, be very specific about what you can help them with, right? So here's the thing. Most people give up on niches. Anybody here, just type 2 if you've given up on a niche. Anybody done that? Type 2. Yeah. Okay. I've given up on niches. So here's the thing. The only reason I would leave a niche is once I've done 100 sales presentations to that niche. Once I've done 100 presentations, and if I haven't been able to make that work, I'm out. That's your goal. Now, let me ask you this question. Think about it. Presentation number 1 and presentation number 15 are going to be very different, are they not? Going to be really different. 15 is going to be different. You can nod. It's okay. I get you. Right? It's going to be really different, right? Presentation number 1, presentation number 15, very, very different, right? Presentation number 30, you think 30 is going to be different from presentation number 15. After 30 conversations with your niche market and presenting an idea of working with them, you will dial this in after about 30, right? But here's the thing. If you did, how many clients, I just want you to type it in the chat. If you did 30 presentations to a niche for a product category that you're serving, how many clients do you think you would get out of 30? And I want you to be honest, right? You did 30 presentations. Roughly how many clients do you believe that you would have if you did 30 pitches? At least 4 to 5, 10. Yep. 1 in 3, 8 to 10, 7. Interesting. Think about that. 30 pitches, 7 clients multiplied by your average sale, you got a business, right? Now think about this. At 100 pitches, if you've done 100 presentations, your worst case scenario is you're going to get 20 clients. 20 clients is about, if you've got an average sale of like 2 grand a month as your average sale, you are halfway to $1 million business with 100 pitches, right? Most people quit just about when they get it right. Most people quit a niche. They've spent time talking to it, learning it, blah, 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 and they quit, right? And I ask people, how many sales presentations did you do to that market? And most people say 1, 3, 5, 7. How many appointments do you set a week? 1, none, 1 every other week, right? That's why it's not working. It's not working because you're not talking to anybody. And they're really easy to talk to. Every niche is very easy to talk to. It is. Because if you've got something relevant, you can always ask the question and they will chime in, right, to what you're doing. So that's my niche thing. That's my niche thing, right? At the very beginning of this conversation, I said your number 1 priority is to get to your next paying customer. Not the next 10, not the next 20, but the next paying one. When you get the next paying one, this time around, when you get your next paying customer, I would like you to do this thing. If you do this thing, This is how you're going to get 4 or 5 clients real fast if you do this thing. So I need you to listen very carefully to this. And you want to go back to the recording and listen to this, right? When somebody buys what you have to offer, when they buy, here's what you want to say. Because the thing is that now they've validated that they value you, and that's why they're investing in you. So the question you're asking is, why did this business buy? Why did they buy you? Why did they buy your shit, right? What did they want from it? What are you going to provide as part of that process, right? What are you going to provide as part of that process, right? And so now what you want to do is you want to go to businesses just like the one that you just sold and say, listen, we sat down, we had a business come to us and they hired us to do this thing. We've got the framework of how we're going to do that. We thought while we're building the framework, we'd probably share it with a few other people just like you. Do you want to see the framework that they're hiring us to do to get this result? And you'll watch what people say. Yeah, I'll have a look at it. And then one of those people are going to go, I want to do that too, right? So you're going to get 2 clients. Now you've got 2 clients. Guess what you do next? I've got 2 companies that have just hired us to do this. I've got the framework and the outcome that they're looking for. Do you looking for a similar outcome? Would you like to see the framework? Right? Then you get another company, you got 3. I've got 3 people that are going crazy right now because they want us to do this thing. We're working on this project. It would be remiss of us not to let you know what we're actually doing because I think it's something that might be useful. Are you open to having a look at the framework that we're doing to get this outcome, this result with these 3 businesses in your category? And within the space of a week to 2 weeks, you will have 5 clients. You'll turn 1 client into 5 clients very quickly, very quickly. Now you've got to facilitate, right? So you've got to do the work. But here's the thing. You don't stop at number 5. You now let everybody know we just got 5 people. And then you get 6 and 7 and 8. And now you've got 10. I said 10 people in the last few months have done this thing. We've got this framework. It's working. We've got it up and running. We're getting results. Have you got this framework working for you right now? No? Do you want to see this framework? And you get another client. Play that game and you'll turn 1 customer into 5, into 10, into 27, into $1 million run rate. That's it. What do you got to do to get to your next paying customer? That's all you got to do. Not the next 10, the next 1. Once you get that 1, you're going to leverage that 1 into 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the game that you're playing. So I'm going to stop talking because I've said too much, maybe not enough. And I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. I'll give you, how much time we've got, David? You tell me.
How much you want is not a problem, or as long as you want.
I'll answer as long as you're asking questions.
think-
I'll hang with you, but I'm open to you.
Yeah, I see you brought a lot of value. I don't know if the guys agree, but they can talk for themselves.
What do you want to tell? What was the number 1 thing that you took out of this? Just type it in the chat so at least everybody can hear what your thinking is. And Dalton, I'll answer your question in a moment. Just what's a thing that you took out of this session with me? Because I know you're probably going to watch the recording again. The apprenticeship doesn't have to be, yeah. More sales, less fulfillment. Yep. Sales. Yep. Yep. I had a meeting. There's a guy called Robert Herjavec. He's one of the sharks on the Shark Tank. And for about 6 months, Robert and I were kind of stalking each other around events that we were going to. And there was a time where I sat down with Robert and I asked him this question because the guy, built a $1 billion cybersecurity company, goes and sells that, decides to go and build another cybersecurity company, generating about $700 million in the space of like 5 years. Dude knows how to build a business, right? And I said to Rob, like if I was asking the 1 thing question of the business, what is the number 1? What is the 1 thing? And he thought about it. It didn't take him very long to answer. And he looked at me, he says, John, when times are good, when they're really good, it should be sales above all else. And when times are shit, it should be sales above all else. So essentially it's sales above all else. That's the thing, right? Because the collection of revenue is what creates your opportunity. That's what scales you. So you need to be accepting as much revenue as possible from the value that you actually let the market know. And most people in our game, and this is why it doesn't work, most people are fucking invisible, right? Most people don't know who you are. You want to get known to the people you serve, not to the world, just to the people you serve. You want to get known. If you get known, you're going to make money. If you don't get known, you're going to be where you're at. It's going to be tough, right? But you got to play the game. You've got to build your Rolodex. Okay, so we've got a few things that people said here. I need to put my glass on, I can't read. Nice and more inside knowledge from someone who has built multiple. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dalton. Know your numbers. Yeah. Focus on getting to your next client. Yeah. Best way to leverage your network is to get more clients. Yes. Talk about the cool thing. Yes, absolutely. Talk about the cool thing. The simple script to start engaging contacts and generate daily appointments. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate that. So I'm going to stop talking. Dalton, let me answer your question. I'm mute.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay. So I think one kind of interesting thing to ask you about now, you're probably a little familiar with how Jeff kind of teaches our group more of a simplified agency approach, right? At times we even put the price on our ad, right? And
Absolutely.
the way he kind of brought me into the program and some others into the program is this idea of you don't have to offer these impossible 10x your ROI or your money back and I'll pay you. Like getting away from those offers and moving towards something more.
Yep.
But some of the sales process that you're talking to in presentations, I like it, and I've always valued that kind of selling, you know, selling the goal, and selling the way to get there. Do you think that that model can still be successful without some kind of crazy guarantee or offer on the front end that's like you're going to make, you know, you're going to be a without.
I said, so think about what I said. I asked the person, what's your worst case scenario? I didn't say I said, can you live with the worst case scenario? Is the worst case scenario better than what you got? There's no, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not the one making the sale. They are, right? So my question is, you give me the worst case scenario. If you can live with the worst case scenario, we're good, right? Now, I think Jeff's model's brilliant. I'm not saying that you should do my way, his way. I think his model's fantastic, and it works. It works. It's a great model, right? It's brilliant. I'm just saying it's a different. I'm just giving another perspective, right, or a different way of approaching it. I've found that most people spend too much time talking about their shit and not helping anybody, right? Because they're trying to convince people that they're really good at what they do, and you really don't. You really don't. You're already good. You're already smart enough, right? What you need to be what you need to get better at is understanding. There's a book written by Stephen Covey. I think there's a new edition, but it was written about 30 years ago, and the whole business was built around this one book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. The fourth habit is the concept of seek to understand first, and then seek to be understood. This model that I've been sharing with you is seek to understand where they're at first, and then how do I help you? How do you understand that I can help you get there, right? That's the model, right? So I think I put, you know, we on our agency sites, we put our prices right up front. We tell people that you're going to pay us 30 grand a month for Go High Level, right up front, right? We tell people that you're going to give us a deposit for $15,000 for a reactivation campaign, right up front, right? They know the price. So when they come to us, we don't have a sticker shock. Right? They already know the price. And so like you, they already know what the price is. So that's not an issue. They know what they're going to expend. That takes care of that, right? Like we sit down. So another way of doing this, and this you'll bring, thank you for bringing up this point. Another way of doing this, we literally qualify people right up front before we even do a presentation about the money. We tell them, you know, when you sit down with our people, you're buying. If you get to that stage of sitting down in front of our salespeople, you're actually there to buy our products. You're not there to check us out. So let me be very clear, right? Let me be very clear. When you get to an appointment, 85%, you're already making a decision to buy what we have to offer. So don't make an appointment if you have no intention to buy. Like, just don't, right? So we're right up front. We'll sit there and say, tell me why you want to do this. Tell me why you're sitting down with us talking to this about us, and tell me why you need to do this now and not later. So they sell themselves. We need to do this because we know that we've got to get it right. The reason why we're talking to you is we've seen, you know, you're confident enough. We feel like you could deliver on this. Great. So they've sold themselves on us. And the reason why we need to do this now is, well, we want to get the results as quickly as possible. We need to move. We need to build this. We need to go. Okay, great. So very quickly, when you work with us right up front, we're sitting there saying, look, at the low end, right, we're talking about a $5 grand deposit and a $5 grand a month. The average client for us, 8 to 12,000 a month. Can you handle that investment right now? Right? Now they're either going to go, wow, that's a lot, or they're going to go, okay, that makes sense. Now, if they say, okay, that makes sense, then we're going to qualify them again before they get to the sales thing, because we're going to
Okay.
ask them for the money, right? They know that. So we're right up front with our pricing. We're right up front with the money. Can you handle this? Now they might say, wow, that's really expensive. Okay, great. What were you thinking? We'll ask them the question. What were you thinking? What were you thinking of spending to get the result? And you're saying you want this outcome, this result. You're telling me this is why you want to do this. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you the question. Is $1,000 a month going to get you $300,000 in revenue in return? That's not
Yes.
going to happen, dude. Right?
I like
That's
that
never
kind
going
of
to happen, right?
I like
So
that
now
kind
I'm gonna ask you the question: what do you think you should be paying for a $300,000 outcome? Then they're
yeah.
going to go, I should be paying like 40, 50 grand. Okay, great. So if you were hitting those strides, would you pay the money? Would you find the money and pay the money? Yes or no? We would
Well,
find the money.
yes,
Great.
of course.
So now when you get to the sales call, we don't do a 1 hour freaking, let's take you through the pitch deck. Let's show you how we're going to run Facebook ads. Let's show you the model. We don't do that. It's a 20-minute phone call saying, tell me why you want to buy this.
And is it a Zoom
Right?
call or
Yeah,
telephone
just a
call?
Zoom call. Just a Zoom. Could be on the phone, could be a Zoom call. That's it. So then it's
And-
like, tell me why you're here. Tell me why you want to buy this. Tell me why this plan's important to you. Okay, these are the reasons why. And then we'll say, okay, well, here's what your options are. This is what we're putting in. This is what we're offering you, right? Tell me what do you want to do? What do you think you should do? I go, well, let's start, right? Okay, great. So we sign the agreement on the spot. We do not do, let me send you an email, let me send you an invoice, and we take the money right up front on the spot. We take it
Oh.
then and there. Now, here's the thing, and this is cool, right? We don't even have a pitch deck, right? We walk them through a 3-page PDF, and then they press the button and buy, right? We just walk them through 3 pages. This
So
is
you
what
just
you said you wanted. This is
have
what you
that.
said was why it was important. And then the rest is what we do. Bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. And then frequently asked questions. You're asking me, these are the questions that are common. Let me walk through the questions. Now let me kill the objections right up front. We've got the money taken care of. We've got the fact you want to do this taken care of. Now is the time you want to do this. Great. You're the decision maker, right? We've already qualified you. You're saying you're making a decision. No, there's no secrets. There's no secret partner, because we're already asking, are you going to defer to your wife? Are you going to defer to a business partner, right? Or how long have you owned this company for? Oh, I don't own the company. My boss owns the company. Okay, great. Well, I shouldn't be talking to you. I should be talking to the boss. We kill that all right up front. So when we're talking to people, we're talking to people who actually want to buy. That's why we're converting at a high rate. Now, the last thing I will say on this is that at the end of the day, right, everybody needs to think about it. There is a stalling moment. There's a, I need to think about it, right? We're recording this. This is at the 1 hour and 10 minute mark of this conversation, 1 hour and 10 minutes. If you do this thing, right, this will completely eliminate, I need to think about it, and you'll always close a sale. If you just do this thing, it's really simple, right? So you say, listen, we talked to a lot of people. This is not your first rodeo. You've been in sales calls before. I just want to ask you these questions very quickly. If you see that what we're offering you is not a fit for you, and we have answered all your questions, are you confident enough for at the end of our presentation to give us a no? So if you see that this isn't right for you and we've answered all your questions, are you confident enough to give us a definitive no at the end of the presentation? Everybody says, yeah, I can do that. If it's not a fit and I've answered all my questions, I will say no. I'll give you a no at the end of this. Cool. Alternatively, if you like this thing and you like what we're doing and you're okay with that, are you okay for us to start today? Can we walk you through how we get started today? Are you okay with that? So alternative, if you don't like it, it's not a fit and we've answered your questions, it's a no. If you do like it, is it okay if I walk you through how we can get going today? Are you cool with that? And they're going to go, yes. Now you need to say this thing. If you don't say this thing, what I've just said is useless, right? You need to say this is the anchoring, right? I just want to thank you. I want to commend you for being decisive. We tend to find the people we work with that are decisive tend to get the best results, and they're a lot of fun to work with. So thanks for being fun to work with, right? You need to say that statement. So right up front, look, this is not your first dog and pony show. You know you're going to buy something here or not buy something here, right? So if you see this, if this is not a fit for you, and we've answered all your questions, are you confident enough to give us a definitive no at the end of this presentation? everybody will agree to that and say yes. Alternatively, if you like what we've got, you like the idea, is it okay if I walk you through how we get started on this today? Are you cool with that? They'll go yes. And then you anchor it. Then you say, hey, I just want to commend you for making a decision. The people we work with that are decisive are the people who get the best results, and the people that are more fun to work with. So I just want to say thanks for being fun. You need to do that. Now, here's the thing. They're still going to ask you to think about it. That's still going to come up. So here's now, because think about what you've just set up, right? We're making a decision. You said that if this isn't a fit and we've answered your question, it's a no, right? So obviously we haven't answered the question if it's I need to think about it, because I need to think about it as a maybe, and a maybe is a no. A maybe is a no, right? So here's what you do. You go back and say, I just want to be super clear. The objective, you said that you wanted this thing, this outcome. That's still what you want. That's what's important to you. Yep. Now, these reasons you said why this is a must and why this is important to you. Has anything changed, or do you want to add to that? No, that's why it's a must. Now, this bottleneck that you had, this is the bottleneck we're getting rid of. That bottleneck stays if you don't do this. Do you agree? Yep. So you're cool. You understand how we're going to solve the bottleneck. Now, this plan, right, is you can see how it bridges the gap from where you are to where you're going to be, right? Yep. Do you got any questions about this plan? Okay, great. So what do you think we should do with this program? Because they've just said, I want the objective. This is why it's important to me. Yes, we're eliminating bottleneck. Here's the plan that I like the plan. So what do you think we should do? And they're going to go, you know what, you're right. We need to buy it. I need to think about this. We're freaking in, right? So that one thing stops the I need to think about it, because the I need to think about it is a killer. Now, that's not to say that it's still not going to happen where they need to go. Some people go, you know what, I just need that time to compress, absorb. I get it. Okay, I'm going to give that time. In the meantime, here's what I'm going to do. Before you get off this call, I've got my calendar. I've got a time like it's, I've got a 11 o'clock or a 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Open up your calendar for me, please. You got a 2 o'clock? Great. I'm going to send you a link right now. Just send you an invitation, 2 o'clock. Have you got it? Can you please accept that? So I'm going to call you at 2 o'clock and I'm going to answer some questions. In the meantime, I'm going to shoot you an email, just bullet pointing what we've just discussed and the important things you said that you wanted out of this program. And then I'll call you tomorrow and you can decide whether or not we're going to be working together. Are you cool? And then you've locked it in. 24 hours to 72 hours, no later. Anything longer than 72 hours, it's a dead sale. You're going to lose money. Anything longer than 72 hours, you're going to lose. They've forgotten half the things you told them, right? Oh. So that's how you will close more sales if you do that. I had a guy, Doug, who I shared that concept with, and he went and did it word for word for somebody next, and he literally closed a $30,000 client the next day. He'd never done it before. He thought, oh, you know, I said, just be human. Don't, you know, script it out, right? Just say, look, if you don't like the idea and we've answered your questions, you know, are you okay just saying no to this today? Are you confident enough to do that? Yeah. If it's not a fit, I've answered questions. It's a no. Great. Alternatively, if you like it and you think it's really cool, is it okay if we show you how to get started today? Are you cool with that? They go, yeah. I said, look, you know, I just want to say thanks, because the people who tend to be decisive tend to get the best results, and they're a lot of fun to work with. So I really want to say thanks for being fun. And then you anchor it. And then he just went into the pitch, and they didn't think about it because they remembered decision. Most people don't make a decision. They remembered, and they went, you know what? We should just do it. And they signed up on the spot. I had another person, Melissa, a lady I work with, she was worried. She was working with a company. It was a $10,000 deposit to set up a funnel, and it was like $3,000 a month to manage the funnel and Facebook ads. And she was like, the client was said, I've never spent $10,000 on, I can go and buy a funnel for $5,000. I can go buy a funnel on on Go High Level for like $50, snapshot, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to spend $11,000 on a funnel, right? I said, yeah, well, you still got to make the thing work, right? You still got to integrate it. You still got to put the design, the copy. You got to do all that sort of stuff. No one's going to do that for $50, right? Okay, well, not the way you want it to work, right? But by all means, right? So I said, sit down with this person and ask them what they want out of this. Why do they want this thing? Why do they want the freaking funnel? And why is it really important to them? And why are they talking to you about this project now? And why haven't they got it done by now? Because if they can get it for $50, they would have already fucking done it, right? But they didn't. So they're talking to her because they understand that she knows her shit and she can get it done, right? So I got an email from her yesterday because she was worried that she was going to lose this deal, right? And I said, you're just going to walk them through exactly what they're saying, what they wanted, why they want it, and why they want to get it right. And then you're going to ask them to buy. And lo and behold, the dude deposits $11,000 in a bank account and agrees to the $3,000 a month, right? No more $50 GoHo level, some person VA who's going to set my GoHo level account up and make millions of dollars for me for $50, right? Own your value. If you own your value, they'll buy it.
Mhm.
If you own who you are, they're gonna do it every day of the week. And you've got to the reason why I'm pumped about what I do is because of the results that it brings to people. I'm pumped because if you don't do this, you're an idiot. You haven't heard me and you're a dickhead, right? You haven't heard me and you just don't understand, right? Now, that's not their fault. That's my fault. That's my responsibility to help them understand the path. But I also got to ask the questions on what their intent was. Because my intent, I'm here to help. I'm not here to have a chit chat, right? So thank you for asking the questions, Dalton. Who else was there? Jacob, where are you, Jacob?
Hey, John, I'm here. Thank you.
Sorry, Jacob, to interrupt, but I think it's Matt first because he raised
Okay.
his hands previously.
Oh, okay. I'll do Matt and I'll do
Sorry.
Jacob. Sorry, I didn't see the order.
Yeah, no problem.
Matt. Can't hear you, man.
We can't hear you.
Microphone. Press the little button that turns on your microphone on Zoom. Can't hear you, dude.
I think it's Jacob's good luck.
All right, Jacob,
Alrighty.
let's go with you, and I'll get back to Matthew. So ask me the question, Jacob.
Yeah, John, this has been incredible. What would you say? I didn't know I was in an apprenticeship, but now I know. So what would you say to somebody who's in an apprenticeship, still figuring out what their cool thing is and what their niche is?
You're already thinking about what you're doing. You're in this game because you've got an idea in your head, and you need to sort of flesh out that idea. Like in your head, what do you want to do? And I'm not asking the question. You already know what you want to do, right? You already got an idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, right? And so what you want to do is you want to think about the things that have attracted you first to this idea, and then other people will also be attracted. Like there are people who get into GoHo level who fuck around with GoHo level for 6 months before they actually open the freaking thing and work it, right? Most people in GoHo level don't even have a GoHo level funnel set up. They haven't even set it up, but they know how to set up an integration. They know how to do a landing page, but they haven't set up for themselves, right? Let alone for anybody else, right? So I'll ask them, do you eat your own lunch? They go, I don't eat my own lunch. Well, if you don't eat your own lunch, how can anybody buy what you have to offer, right? So turn yourself into your best case study. That's the goal. Turn yourself into your best case study, right? And so for me, you've just got your thing. There's 2 questions you want to ask yourself. If I want to build an enterprise, I've got to get serious. So you need money to build an enterprise, meaning you just got to go and make sales, right? Your confidence and your experience is going to be coming from the doing part of helping your clients get results, not from the planning part of I'm going to build this enterprise. So the faster you get, your experience is going to grow, the quicker you bring clients on board. And you're going to screw it up, not intentionally, but you're going to screw it up. And that's okay, because that's where you're going to learn. That's where you're going to fine tune, and that's where you're going to resonate. So of all the things that you offer, pick the one thing that you like the idea of, and then go, great, who benefits from this? What types of business benefit from this idea, right? And then go, if I was going to help a business like this with an idea, what process do I have to go through to get them a result? Just map it out. And so you've got a framework, right? Now you just want to go to people and say, hey, this is the result that people are after. I built a framework that gets a result. Do you want to check out the framework? That's it. And so you want to have that conversation as often as you can and just go, you know what? What if we built it for you? What do you think? Okay. And then they go, oh, okay, let's go for it. Okay. And then you're going to ask them for some money, right, to build it for them, right? And that's how you're going to build your confidence. A lot of people in this game, they go, do this for free for 3 or 4 people, get your case studies and get it going. I can't eat free. I can't go and I can't get a coffee for free, right? Like they're not going to give me a cup of coffee because I say, give me a cup of coffee for free. I got to pay money for this, right? So because they're putting the beans in, paying staff and blah, blah. I don't like to work for free. I like to get paid up front. So I would prefer to ask for a nominal fee, just something, even if it's $100, it doesn't matter, right? Just so you're getting validated that somebody is willing to spend money. And then what you want to do is, as your confidence grows, you're going to increase the price points. You've already got an idea here in the group of what the average price points are. So you've already got a starting point, right? That's what I would take. I would take the price points that are in the starting point. From there, as you grow, as you get your experience, and the fastest way to get out of the apprenticeship is go and fuck up as quickly as possible, right? Go and do some cool stuff and go and screw it up for clients, because that's where you're going to learn fast, right? And then what's going to happen is there's a momentum shift. You're going to get a lot more clearer about what you're doing. You're going to be a lot more clear about how to get the result. And then you're going to get a client that's going to be a game changer for you. You're going to get one customer that's just going to crush it, right? And you did that. You helped that customer, and there's a couple other reasons why that works. So here's the thing: if you get a crush campaign, you crush it for a client. And when I say crush, it doesn't mean a huge result. It's just a result, a positive result, right? What you want to do is you go to your network, go to your list, and say, "Hey, we got this result for this client, which is pretty cool. We've built the framework that got the result. What I want to do is I want to beat that result with you. Are you open to seeing what we've done? We've got a client, got this result. What we want to do is we've got the framework. We know it works. So all we're doing is pile money into this, and it just spits out money, right? If you do this, this is a good game to play, right? Money in, more money out. It's like client casino. Give me one customer, the value of one customer, I give you 5 customers back, right? That's how we're going to pay for this thing, right? So you're going to say to people, I've got a framework that already works. What I want to do is I want to beat it. I want to beat that with you. Can we beat this result with you? Are you okay with that? Are you open to that? And then people are going to go, okay, I like the idea of that. Let's go, right? So that's what you need to do. You just need to go and do what you say you're doing, get money for it, make the mistakes, learn, look for the wins, and then talk about the wins. You talk about the wins, you're going to get more wins, right? And this is the thing, and this is to everybody, right? This idea that I've just talked to you with Jacob is the precursor to you picking a niche. Because if you get a result, if you go broad with a few different types of businesses, right? And then you've got a result with a type of business, what are you going to do? You're going to find all the types of businesses exactly the same as that one, because you know how it works. You know what their sales are, you know what they do, how they do what they do. You're familiar, you know, and say, listen, we're working with a business that does this just like you, but we're freaking crushing it. We just thought, you know what, it would be madness not to crush it with you. Don't you think? And then now you're going to go 1, 2, 3, you're going to build a client base in a niche. You got it?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a place I can do more of this? This has blown my mind. I want more.
Listen to Jeff. Jeff will tell you all of this. Watch Jeff's stuff is insanely good. You are with one of the best coaches on the planet in agency, as far as I'm concerned. He's very, very clever. He's very good. He's learnt the craft and the skills. You're in the right place. Be in Jeff's space, right? This stuff works. His stuff works like gangbusters. That's why you're there. That's why you're in this program, right? So just play Jeff's game, and you'll get there. Okay. So yeah. So we're back to Matt.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey. I got you.
We good? All right.
Yep.
Sorry about that. A little
Sound of
software
music.
issue.
That's right.
Anyway, what I was saying is, thank you for all this value and your time and everything. It's super valuable. So here's my kind of question. I feel like I've done my Rolodex game, if you will. And I feel like our Rolodexes are vastly different. I feel like I'm kind of stuck in this big pond of small fish, and I'm looking for the whales. And, you know, even the, like, it's funny you mentioned mortgage, because I actually spent 3 years working with mortgage brokers, and all I was finding were these small time independent guys that could barely afford $900 a month, you know?
Yep.
Any suggestions on how to find the C-suite players, you know, how to find these larger industries that aren't leveraging the technology, don't have these little CRM systems that their brokerages are giving them or whatever?
Yep. All right. So I want to speak to mortgage. So I have a friend of mine, his name's Stephen. He sells to mortgage brokers. They're doing about 11 million this year selling to mortgage brokers in marketing. Okay. So it is a niche and it spends money, but you got to leverage what you know, right? So here's the thing. We want to play with a bigger fish. What's a big fish? What's a big fish? What's a bigger fish?
The broker owner.
Yep. And what type of broker owner? Do you want to work with a broker owner who's got 20 people in the office, or work with a broker owner who's got 2 people in the office?
No, I want 20. I want multiple offices, national.
Because he needs to pay those salaries. That 20 dude has got to pay those salaries. So there are probably in the United States, without checking, but I can probably go and check. There's probably about probably about 250 to 300 brokers that have 20 or more people in them in the network in the United States, just in your country, right? Let alone what's out there in the marketplace. So you know what their biggest problem is? Their biggest problem is it takes 4 months to close a deal. That's a problem, right?
Right.
The second problem they have is that people are fucking lazy. They'll never follow up. They'll never do the deal. They'll because all they're doing is it's the next deal, the next deal. They're always focusing on the next deal. So in the industry, there's a massive opportunity cost. So if you sat there, and if I looked at a brokerage firm and sat down with a 20 broker firm, and he's got probably 5 loan writers, and he's probably got 7 agents out on the road, or 3 loan writers, 7 agents down the road, right? Just talking to people about doing mortgages, right? Or filling in forms. Okay. These guys are only interested in the form I got in front of me, and the next form I got to write up, because the more forms I write, the more I'm closing my deals, and I'm okay because the company's giving me leads, and I'm not having to work too hard for my money, right? However, the opportunity cost is massive. If the sales cycle is an average of 4 months to convert a mortgage into an actual confirmed agreement, right? And your marketing campaign is month to month, right? There's a lot of loans that aren't being written, that aren't being closed, a lot of loans that aren't being closed, because the broker is dealing with another 50 or 100 people this month, and he's forgotten last month and the month before and the month before. I would sit down with a broker and go, dude, let's pull in lost opportunity cost here, right? Let's look at all the deals you didn't close for deals, because too busy dealing with the front end, and get a calculator out and go, let's calculate the money, right? So you closed this, but you lost this, and you paid that to get that loss, right?
Yeah.
So let me
Yep.
ask you the question. If we manage the loss, right, what do you think would happen if we manage the loss? Could we double what
Sure.
you're doing right now? Could we quadruple? Because that's money. Like, that's real money, right?
Sure.
Now, do you have a system in place to do that? No. If you start talking CRMs, they go, well, we've got a CRM. Well, it's obviously not working, right? Because you've got a huge opportunity cost, right? So let's fix the leak. Let's fix the leak. And that leak will be fixed not with a $900 a month spend. You're going to charge them 10, 15 grand to set the system up that's going to close hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars worth of mortgages, or billions of dollars worth of mortgages. They will
Right.
pay that money because you've just shown them the money that they know that is a problem, but they don't focus on it. Right? Now, there are 250 brokers on the planet. Do you know how many millions of dollars that they're losing every month? Do an aggregate, this is the average broker in the market. Say, this is how much money is being left on the table by your competitors and you, right? And that's
Well,
what I would do. I'm not
I
saying
understand,
go after
John.
mortgage
I mean,
brokers.
I understand that conversation. That's the conversation I don't have a problem with. My problem is that historically has been getting in front of those broker owners, those bigger players. It's like that breaking through the the receptionists and whatever to get in front of those people.
That's easy. Make it a point to get in front of those people.
Yeah.
Make it important, right? Make it important for them. Make it important for you. If you're not making that important, like saying it's hard to get in front of those people, it's not hard. Send an invitation. Say, hey, look, I've been knocking on your door for like a month or 2 months. I've been giving you the best ideas. We need to talk. Don't you think?
Right.
Now, if you want to get past the gatekeeper, it's really easy to get past the gatekeeper. Here's how you get past the gatekeeper. Gatekeeper picks up the phone. Thanks, Carol. We appreciate you being picking up the phone. Can you let Bob know that Matt's on hold? Thanks for putting me through.
Right. Just a
And she'll
confidence.
go, who are you? Who are you? Just Bob's got my message. Just let Bob know that Matt's on hold. Thanks for putting me through, Carol. Appreciate it. And what's Carol going to do? It's going to put you through. Now you got Bob. Hey, Bob, you don't know me from Adam. I've been sending you messages up the wazoo, been trying to bother you, trying to get this appointment for ages, but you have no idea who the fuck I am, right? But if you can give me 60 seconds, you can let me know whether or not we should continue the conversation. Is that fair enough? And Bob's going to go, okay, you got 60 seconds. And so, listen, I know from this conversation, we're probably going to have another conversation, but let me give you the lowdown. Is this something you're open to doing? Yes or no? And then most people are going to go, yeah, it sounds good. Great. You got your calendar open? Great. Let's book a time. I could get any fucking CEO on the phone if I wanted to, and you can too. You make a choice, right? Now, I don't need to do that. I hire a person to do exactly what I just did to you, right? I can hire
Right.
somebody to make 250. We've got 3 people that do $250 a day each, right? And from those $250, they'll make between 7 to 12 to 13 appointments a day. So every 10 days, they're making 100 appointments. Okay.
Mhm,
And they're doing exactly what I just did to you,
mhm.
right? That's volume. But how do you get into people? Add value to them. Figure out where they're hanging out and add value to them. Go and hang out. Go to the conferences. Go to the trade shows. Go because they're there. They're right in front of you, right? You know, you want to get into CEOs of bigger companies. It's really easy. Call up their sales department. Here's how you get into big companies. Call the sales department and ask a salesperson about their product or category and to ask them why it's really cool and why it's fantastic and why it's amazing. And they will start talking to you about all the shit that the company's doing and how cool it is and what they're working on, what the current campaign is, and tell you about the business and the history and why they're freaking awesome. And they'll tell you everything and say, listen, who's the person who's running the company right now? Oh, it's blah, 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 blah. It's Matt Silver's running the company right now. Cool. Is it okay? I want to reach out to Matt. Is it okay I mention that we had this conversation? We cool? And they go, yeah, absolutely. So now I'm going to call you, Matt. Say, Matt, I spoke to Steve, who's in the sales department. He said that I should connect with you. Are you going to accept my
Right,
phone call?
right.
Right? I can
Mhm.
do that all day long. I can go talk to Mary, talk to Bob, talk to somebody in marketing, say, look, who's the person who's in charge? This person. They're the person to speak to about it. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate your time. Learned a lot. Hey, I was speaking to Mary. Mary suggested I need to speak to you. Every CEO on the planet is going to take that call, right? Because it's
Mhm.
they know the person. It's the person that they trust in their company, right? So they go, okay, well, what's this all about, right? Now,
Right.
the problem and the danger here, Matt, is that that conversation is not going to go the way you want it to go because they don't know who you are yet. So you got to, you know, it's not like we can't get married on the first date, right? We can't, you know, we're not going to bed on the first date. That's not going to happen. We've got to date each other a little bit, right? So how do we date each other? Well, I've got to get to know you first. Say, look, I know you're busy. I just want to introduce myself. Is it okay if I give you a bit of a pro forma of some of the things perhaps you might be aware of? And is it okay if I follow you up, right, to get your feedback on it? Or are you open to having a 15-minute conversation about this thing, right? Can you do me a small favor? Do you mind just opening up your calendar for me? Are you free on Wednesday at 9 o'clock or free at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Which of those 2 times are you free on? I'm free at 3 o'clock. I'm going to send you an invitation. Can you lock that in? Can you just accept that at 3 o'clock? In the meantime, I'm going to provide you with information that's going to give you context, understanding, and structure on what we're talking about. But I promise you that at least that I will add as much value as I can to you in our conversation and just to see if we have an opportunity to help each other out. Are you cool with that? Most people go, yeah, I'm cool with that. Okay, great. I'll see you at 3 o'clock.
Mhm.
Right? And I'm going to send I'm going to send an email. I'm going to do follow-ups. I'm going to do everything I do to make sure that you get on that phone call. And then when you're on the phone call, I would have done more homework on you. Right? I would have got to know you a little bit better. I would have got to know what the company's going, what you're doing, a little bit of history. Right? And I can speak to that on that call. And I'll say, hey, this is what we're working on. This is the cool shit we're working on. Is this the cool shit that you think you should be paying attention to or not? And they go, I think we should pay attention to the cool shit. And that's how you get a sales appointment, right? So it's not hard. If you focus on making appointments, this is to everybody. If you focus on making appointments, you'll make appointments. If you don't focus on making appointments, you won't make appointments. If you focus on making appointments with decision makers that are at the level of where you want to talk, well, guess what? You're going to make appointments with those people because that's who you're talking to. That's who you're learning from. That's where you're improving that conversation, that dialogue, right? We used to send an email to people. So a friend of mine, a really good copywriter, Alexi, wrote an email for me that was a script to offer an appointment, right? And it was a really cool email. We used to send this email, and then our SDRs used to call after the email, right? And they used to say, "Hey, we shot you an email. Did you get it?" And every single person would say, "No, I didn't get the email." Every person. We know they got it because they opened it. We saw that they opened it, right? But they didn't get it, right? We know that everybody got it. So after a while, we stopped sending the email and we just say, "Hey, did you get the email?" And they go, "No, I didn't get it." And then we'd send you, they would say, "Oh, well, this is what it's about," right? That would start the conversation. So we used to send the email, then we say, "Oh, well, they're not opening it, they're not looking at it, or they are, they don't even know what it is." Every time everybody we ask does know about it, right? So what are we going to do? We say, "Hey, did you get our email?" Even if you didn't send it, we didn't send the email, right? So we go, "Did you get the message?" "No." "Oh, can I take, if you've got 60 seconds, you can let me know whether or not we should continue the conversation." Is that fair enough? If you say that, everybody's going to say yes. This is what's in. Is it right now? Timing, all those questions, all that comes into a conversation. But every single person, you should be making it a moratorium that you make 1 appointment per day. That should be the first thing on your calendar. Book in your calendar. This is my appointment setting time. I'm going to send a few messages out. I'm going to do some social. I'm going to follow some people up. I'm going to get brave and talk to a few people in the real, right? Be a business, right? 1 appointment per day turns into 5 clients a month. You do that 3 months in a row, Matt, and you've got a game-changing business. That's the game you want to play. You want to build on the momentum of consistency. There's a lady I work with, Crystal Benson. She sells lead management. So you got to do Facebook ads or Google ads. That's what she's Go High Level, right? So to work with Crystal, I've taught her how to charge $15,000 for a setup at Go High Level to manage leads, right? And you're going to pay a minimum between $5,000 and $8,000 a month, right? And she sells the way I sell, just off a PDF, right? She does that, right? Now, Crystal, 12 weeks ago, had no business. This was her first business, right? So, but she wants to make it happen. She's got a beautiful special needs child. She's on her own. She's got everything in the world that she has to make this work for herself, right? So we're 12 weeks later, 70 grand a month in recurring revenue. 11 clients, 70 grand a month in recurring revenue, 12 weeks later. You know how she gets her clients? Cold email. That's how she gets her clients. Just cold email. Just sends out an email, and she tells them how much they're going to pay, everything up front, right? I've explained to her, be transparent. You don't want people coming in and saying, that's too expensive, or that's not going to work for me. You don't want that, right? What you want is people to say, I like the idea of that. I get that there's an investment. Now, the first 3 weeks, crickets, right? Nobody's there, right? Cold email is not working, right? Week 5, all of a sudden, 3, 4 phone calls, 5 phone calls in a week, right? Week 9, right? 11 opportunities a week. Week 9, cold email, right? 11 clients, 70 grand a month recurring, charging 15 grand for a Go High Level setup for lead management, paying, and then charging 5 grand a month to manage it. 70 grand recurring revenue. She's what, 14 grand away from $1 million run rate in 12 weeks. Do you know why she's doing that? She's consistent. Sales above all else. She's consistent. Does every day work out for Crystal? No. Half the days are a fucking nightmare because she's got a special needs child, right? But the other half of the time, she's building her business. She's on her business. She's helping people out with what she does. And she knows what she's doing. When she started, she didn't. But now she's very clear about the message. She's very clear about the offer. She has no website, no landing pages, no fucking, lead magnets, nothing, no videos, nothing. Just an email. And then she sells off a PDF, which I taught her how to do. Right? So Crystal Benson, who has a special needs child, who lives in country, so she lives in the bush, she's in the forest, she's on a farm. She lives on a farm, right? Her clients are nowhere near her. They're all over the fucking world. In fact, most of her clients are in America. She's in Australia, right? So time zone difference. The reason why she can work the time zone difference is when her child gets to sleep, she can work, right? That's why her clients are in the US, not in Australia, right? So if she can make it work, if she can be consistent and she can talk to people about the cool shit that she does, anybody can do this. The question is, how badly do you want it? You either want to make it happen or you don't want to make it happen. And the problem is, or the challenge is, that we're listening to the vernacular and the exception to the rule oftentimes. Do you think that she didn't have shit hit the fan to get to 70 grand a month? She had 3 clients leave, right? She lost 15 grand a month in 3 clients in 2 weeks of signing up the clients because it just wasn't working, right? That's a hit. Got 15 grand, haven't got 15 grand, right? That's $180,000 you lose in a year if you don't keep the client. That's a lot of money to somebody like Crystal, right? But what does she do? Go and get another client. Go and get another client. Go get another client. Learn. Get another client. Sales above all else, right? If mortgage is not the market, it's not the market. Who do you want to help? When you say I want to get into the C-suite, then just focus on getting the C-suite. Everybody can do this. There's this thing. It's a really hidden website. Nobody knows this website. It's called LinkedIn, right? You can't, sometimes it's very difficult to find, but it is the best business database on the planet. It is the biggest on the planet, right? So if you get LinkedIn Sales Navigator, this is to everybody. If you do this, this is gold, right? You'll make millions if you do this, because we do this and we're doing okay, right? So if you go to Sales Navigator, you do a search. What you're looking for are companies with 50 or more employees. Companies with 50 or more employees have a $1 million payroll, right? They've got to be doing at least $3 to $5 million or more in revenue, right? It means that they have to grow. They're forced that they have to pay that payroll. They've got to grow, right? That payroll is the most expensive thing on their thing, and that's what keeps the company going. They've got to get clients. They need to acquire customers. So what you're looking for in the search in Sales Navigator is companies that have 50 plus employees. That's number one. Number two, location, right? Pick locations in cities 200,000 or more population. In the United States, you have 500 cities that have a population of 200 or more people in them, right? 200,000 or more people in them, right? So you're picking cities that have population, okay? Companies that have 40 to 50 people in them, that's a sizable business. Start with the big cities, work your way down, right? So location, very easy. Niche, right? Well, you're only going to choose, if you're choosing the size of the company based on the size of the team, well, now you're only looking at the lead list of the people, the CEOs of companies that are 5 and 10 million plus, right? More than the smaller guys, right? So now you've got the people you want to talk to. Now, what you want to do is identify the person who's the decision maker. So the decision maker in companies, managing director, owner, founder, managing partner, principal, chairman, president, all the titles, right? All the titles in search. So now if you press search, it's going to have all the people that fit that criteria. You might end up with 1,000 leads. Now, what you do is LinkedIn is horrible for timing because it takes 7 to 30 days sometimes for people to respond to you on LinkedIn. 7 to 30 days. That's a long fucking time to respond to an email or a message, right? So you need volume to make it work. So I don't like that. What I do is I take the people off LinkedIn, download all those leads onto a spreadsheet. I go to Apollo, Lucia, Uplead, Rocket Reach, and I go and find the verified email and the mobile phone number of that decision maker, right? Cost me about 30 cents. I think for $70 you can get 500 bucks. It's really cheap, right? So now I've got a name of a CEO or decision maker of a company that is doing 5 to 10 million in revenue in a location that is really easily accessible. And I've got, now I've got an email, a verified email, and now I've got a phone number, right? Now you give me those things and I am dangerous. You're dangerous, right? Because now you have the list that you say that you want, right? Now I would pick 30 of those people. So here, if I was doing it, this is the plan, right? 5 every day, 5 out, 5 follow up, 10 out, 10 follow up. In a month, you would have done 400 touch points to 100 people in a month. If you do that, 5 a day, 1 hour a day, 5 a day, 10, 15, 20, 25 at the end of the week, 100 in a month, 400 touch points. If you did 400 touch points with, I got an idea that helps people do this, so you open to the idea, I'll guarantee you'll probably speak to about 5 to 10 people easily, right? Now you're speaking to 5 to 10 people, you're going to close 2 to 3 deals. 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day. Welcome to Crystal Benson's world, right? That's all you got to do. You don't need to do anything else. Yeah. Jacob says, with a 10K GHL setup and a 5-day management fee, what does a managing GHL? So the management fee includes reporting, letting the customer know where the sales leads are at, improving the marketing campaigns, the emails, the automations, and making them convert better. That's what the $5,000's for. Because if you're doing GHL and you're leaving it static, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. You have to work it, you know. I ran an agency where we used to charge our clients $250K to set up a CRM, to set it up. There are companies right now spending $1 million a month on SAP CRMs just to manage them. $1 million, that's $12 million a year to manage a CRM, and they still don't use it. They still can't get the freaking data out of it, right? So in our agency, we use Salesforce. We paid, so our Salesforce fee is $180,000 a year for Salesforce. That's what we're paying for Salesforce. And then we spend another $180,000 a year for service and support. So we spend $360,000 on Salesforce. That's $36,000 a month on Salesforce. Well, it's actually about $30,000 a month on Salesforce. That's what we spend on Salesforce. in our $70 million a year agency, right? Now, could we do all the things we do in Salesforce and go high level? No. We could do a lot of it, but not all of it. So Go High Level is not a CRM, not a proper CRM. It might turn into one. I know that Sean and I spoke to Alex a few months ago. That's the path they're heading down, is to create the robustness of the CRM in Go High Level, which they will do. They'll get there very, very quickly, right? So it will become a good CRM. But right now, it's a really good lead management tool, a really good marketing tool. It's a really good automation tool. Like, you don't need Make.com, Bubble, Zapier. You just use GHL. The automations in GHL are fantastic. You don't need all this bullshit. We were paying $1,800 a month for Zaps. We switched over to GHL. We don't spend $800 a month anymore on Zaps. You know, you got a really robust system in GHL if you're using GHL. If you don't want to use GHL, use Streak. It's Google's own free CRM. STREAK, streak.com, goes straight into your Gmail account, and you can see all your sales happening in real time. Because you should be living in your CRM, not in your, you should be in your calendar and CRM, not your email. I only see my emails twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. I've got a team member that is monitoring my emails. I don't want to be in there, because I've got my email on there. Guess what? That thing's ticking over. And what do? You open up your email and you see what's going on, and you click on a thing and you're down the rabbit hole. You're into somebody's sales page or into somebody's funnel, right? You don't need to be there. The question you have to ask yourself is, how am I going to get to my next paying customer? What am I going to do? Where's the offer, right? Who am I offering it to? How am I starting that conversation? Let's get into the conversation. You can get a client. I've had people get a client in an hour, literally live. I was on stage. In fact, we did this at GHL at Funnel Hacking Live in November. I had time and I was saying, do this offer, send this out, make a direct money offer, right? And see what happens whilst I was in the room. It took half an hour. One person made $3,500 like that in half an hour, just by making a direct offer to do Facebook ads in the room. That's how fast you can get a customer, right? I've seen people do it in minutes. I was in a room of 500 people. And I said, well, we're going to go make appointments. You got 5 minutes to go make an appointment. I said, here's the offer you're going to send out. And I gave them the offer to send out to make the appointments, right? Now, of the 500 people in the room, only 70 people actually did what I asked them to do. Of the 70 people that did what I asked them to do, about 50 of them actually had appointments. One person had 22 appointments in half an hour, accepted from a message that happened in the room, right? We make this harder than it needs to be. Focus on the thing that's important. Just do that, and you're going to get better at it. The way to solve a problem is not to look at the problem and say, how am I going to solve this problem? The way to solve the problem is to understand the reason for the problem. If you understand the reason, you can fix the problem. What's the reason for you not making appointments, Matt? What's the reason for you not making appointments?
I'm not doing the dials.
Well, but you don't have to do the dials. You can hire somebody else to do the dials. Does it have to be dials? Are there other ways to make appointments?
Well, I mean, I have tried the cold email thing for a while, and it's just been completely problematic for me. So
you might have
either messaging or spam or you know. So
Yep.
You
but
know.
I have people that I work with that have a 95% open rate on their first cold emails, and they close 17 appointments out of every 100 emails I send in the marketplace. But you know why they're doing that, Matt? Is because they've dialed it in. They have dialed it. They've really understood. What they did was they didn't write emails and blast an idea out to the market. They went and spoke to the market first and say, listen, I know you get shit all day long, but if you were going to watch or listen or read something, what shit would you read? And they would tell him, this is the shit that I would open my emails on. And so guess what? He started writing emails about the shit that they would open. And guess what? They open his emails. And then he would get comments like, this is the best freaking email I've ever seen. This is amazing. Can you come and write our emails for us to go? Like, he's getting compliments on the cold emails that he's writing. And they're asking him, he's not a cold email guy. They're an SEO company, right? But the reason how he dialed it in was just talk to the market and say, listen, I know I'm going to send you some stuff. You buy or you die, right? People will say, you know, these people would say to Richard, how the fuck do we get off your email address, email system? And he says, really simple. You become a customer. We'll never email you again, right? You become a client. Now, once you become a client, we put you on a different email list, and we're going to start emailing you that shit every day, right? But, you know, it's one thing, right? There are many ways to go and make an appointment. If I said to you, you got an hour to go and get somebody on the phone with you to agree to an appointment with you, you'd probably go and do it. You'd probably be able to do it, right? But
Mhm.
because we don't focus on that, or we're not focused on that, then we don't make that a priority, then it doesn't happen, right? We're looking for things to do heavy lifting for us sometimes, and sometimes we've got to pick up the rock, right?
Right.
So we can throw
Right.
it. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's just like, fuck it, I'm just going to pick up the rock and throw it, right? So where's your head? Why do you want to do what you do? Why is it the most important thing? And just do that, right? You want to make appointments? Spend 1 hour a day just making one appointment. That's it. If you make the appointment in 5 minutes, quit and do something else. You got your appointment, right? If you do it in an hour, do it in an hour. If you do it in two, do it in two. But if you had one a day, and then what you're going to do, you're going to teach somebody else to do what you do. I need you to do that because my time is more valuable talking to people than, making appointments, right? But until you're making about 20 or 30 grand a month in recurring revenue, then you can go and hire that person to replace you, right? Because really we're talking about 8 to 10 clients. That's not a lot of clients. Yeah. So it's what we pay attention to, right? I just showed you how you can get a lead. That you said to me, how do I get the C-suite? I showed you, I literally walked you through a step-by-step process of how to get the right people to talk to that you want to talk to. Niche, location, size of company, the decision maker. Then I showed you where to go and get the exact contact details, the verified email, the phone number. I explained all of that to you, right? Then I said, just pick 30 people a day and send that message out and follow up 5, follow up 5 every day. Send out, follow up, send out, follow up. And what's going to happen is people go, oh, this is about the 4th message. I missed this. And they're going to be open to you having that conversation. And before you know it, you're going to have 5, 10 appointments a month, right? Well, if you've got 5 or 10 appointments a month, you're going to close 2 to 3 deals. 2 to 3 deals. To close 3 deals, you need roughly, this is the law of averages, 12 to 16 max. An average of 12 to 16 appointments per month will close you 3 to 4 deals a month. Every month. That's all you got to do. That's like an appointment every other day. That's not every day. That's an appointment every other day. You have an appointment every other day, you'll make bank. So what is the engine that you're working on that is going to give that outcome? Just work on that. Spend this month, we've got a new month, we're in May. By the end of the month, Matt, right? Send a message through Jeff. I finally figured out my shit with making appointments. I spent a whole month working this system and now I'm making an appointment every fucking day. That's what it's going to take. But now when you think about that month, right? It's not going to take you a month. It's probably going to take you about 2 or 3 days. But think about that. That now is a license to print money every month for the next 5 years, right?
Right.
Because you've worked on the thing that you struggled to do and you made it work because you focused on the reason for it not working rather than on the thing not working for you. That's how you do it. You pick one project, work on the thing. If marketing, you're messaging, right? Most people are messaging wrong. The reason why most people message wrong is you're copying everybody else's message. I'm not saying you're doing this, Matt, but you're copying everybody else's message. If you're copying everybody else's message, you look like everybody else. You're shouting at the rooftop saying, leads, 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 leads. And because I don't want fucking leads, right? I want paying customers. Okay, great. Let's just talk about paying customers. Why aren't you getting the paying customers? Well, because our leads suck. Why do they suck? Well, because the marketing agency you work with, they suck. Okay, let's see how that works, right? And they go, I'll ask, how many leads you get? Right? And I go, oh, we got about 90, but we didn't close any of them. Okay, so what happened to them? Where's the phone calls? When did you call them? What did you offer them? What was the sales process? Oh, we rang them like 3 or 4 days later. Well, put yourself in the customer's shoe. I need a fucking air conditioner today, not in 3 days' time. Right now in this moment, I'm focused on getting an air conditioning quote. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get a few air conditioning quotes. Now, if you're one of them and you show up, what's going to happen? Are you more likely to sell the air conditioning at the time the person's interested, or is somebody else going to sell it? Right? Put yourself in the customer's shoe. What do you want to happen? We need to pick up the fucking phone. Right? We need to get it done. Right? Okay, great. So if we've got it done, now what's going to happen? Are the leads shit? We don't know. But now we're picking up the phone. We're going to find out pretty quick, right? Whether or not we've got the right campaign, making the right offer. And so sometimes it's not the agency, it's the strategy's wrong. And the agency is just copying and pasting. And that's why they fuck up, is they're not charging enough, right? Most agencies on the planet, the reason why it doesn't work is they're just not charging enough to be able to make it work. If you're working in the solar game, your client should be spending a minimum of 15 to 30 grand a month on ad spend. And I know agencies that go to the solar companies and say, give me a $1,500 a month ad budget. Well, that's gone in the first half hour that the campaign's launched. And the guy says, well, we're spending all this money and we're not getting any fucking appointments. Well, that's because you're not spending enough. Because you need to spend 15 grand. Like I got a friend of mine, Joe, who runs an agency for solar. That's what they do. They've got about 50 solar companies they work for. And I asked them this question: how much money do they need to spend to make it work? And he says, well, if they don't come with more than 15 grand, they're fucked. So they go straight to the client, say, you need to give me 15,000 a month, that minimum. And then you're going to grow that to 50,000 a month. And then we're going to grow that to 100,000 a month. Now, if you like that plan, we're working together. If you don't like that plan, goodbye. Right? So guess what happens with Joe's clients? They get results because they're spending the money they need to be spending to get the result. Right? That's why Joe's a successful Facebook marketer for solar companies, right? So this is the thing. You're the expert. You need to be the expert, right? If you were consulting to your business, what would you say to yourself? You say this to your clients all the time. What would you say to yourself if you were a consultant to your business? Do that. Do that. Sit down and say, I'm a business owner. And if I was talking to a business owner like me, this is what I'd tell myself to do. And go and do it. And I'll guarantee you'll make money. You'll grow, right? There's a couple of things that are in people's heads, right? And I'm happy to, I know I've kind of been talking too much, but I'd like you to ask more questions if you've got more questions, right? So here's the thing. What most people do is they have a bill mentality. Business people have this bill mentality, right? And I'll explain what that means. And so think about this. Have you ever been in a situation, I'm asking all of you this question. Have you ever been in a situation where you got a bunch of bills in and this big bill comes in and the bill is bigger than the amount of money you got in a bank account? Anybody been there? You all been there? Just nod, right? So the bills you got to pay are more than the cash flow you have, right? So here's what you do. You start paying off all the little ones. You start planning on how you're going to pay that big bill, right? Can't take care of it today. I've got to do a couple of things, get some clients, tax check, whatever, right? That's how I'm going to pay the bill. So you start planning on paying the bill. And what generally happens just before the deadline of paying the bill happens, you get a windfall. All of a sudden you land 2 or 3 clients, you get a tax refund, you get somebody who owed you money, pay you money, you get a windfall. And generally the windfall is enough money to pay the big bill and a little bit of surplus, a little bit of extra, right? Anybody experience that? Just wave your hand. Ever been in a situation where all of a sudden it's just come and it's helped you out? Okay, so here's what happened. This has nothing to do with woo-woo manifesting your money. It has nothing to do with manifestation, right? What it has to do with is you only asked and planned for enough to pay the bill. And that's it. You planned and you worked just to pay the bill. And so that's what your plan did. It got you to pay the bill. And that's it, right? So a friend of mine, a mentor, a guy called Al McGovern, told me about this about 30 years ago, right? He said, dude, bill mentality, right? And I was in bill mentality. So from that day on, here's how I switched from bill mentality to not giving a shit about bills, right? Because they're taken care of. Instead of planning for the bills, I planned for more than the bills. The very same way that I planned to get the bill paid is the very same way that I planned to be in surplus. I planned for more, not for enough, right? I planned for more and not for enough. So for the last 30 years, I've had some really big bills and I've just written a check and it didn't flinch because I've planned for more and not for enough. Most people plan for enough and that's all they get, right? What you focus on becomes your reality. You focus on just enough and that's all you're going to get. I want to make 10 grand a month. You'll make 10 grand a month. I want to make 20 grand a month. You're going to make 20 grand a month. I want to make $1 million a month. You'll make $1 million a month, right? It took me a while to get that, to go from 10 grand a month to $1 million a month, to 5 million a month, right? It took my brain couldn't comprehend. What have I got to do to go from 10 grand a month to $1 million a month, right? But once I got the concept, I got there real quick. We built a $70 million agency in 8 years. That's $70 million annualized. That's $6 million a month in revenue in 8 years from scratch. That's recurring with a 35% net. 35% of $70 million is a lot of money that you get to keep, right? It's a mindset thing. 80% of this game is in your head. Be the person you want to be. Be the business you want to be today. Act like the person you want to be now, right? You know, there's a famous TED talk. I highly recommend everybody watch it. It's a lady called Amy Cuddy. Just go TED Amy Cuddy, right? Her TED talk is very renowned. She talks about presence. She's a Harvard professor, and she talks about presence. And at the very last 5 seconds of the video, she talks about this concept of faking it till you make it. And she felt like she was a fake. She's a Harvard law professor. She's a Harvard professor, and she felt she was a fake. As a Harvard professor, she worked her ass off to get there. She did it, right? But in the last few seconds of that interview, she says something, she catches herself, right? It's not fake it till you make it. It's do it and you'll become it. Do it and you will become it. Do the things that you need to do and you will get the outcomes you're looking for. Do it and you'll become it. Do it and you'll become it, right? If you're not making appointments, just do appointments, you know? It's like Ken at a Barbie. I do beach, right? I do beach really well. I'm at the beach. I do beach, right? That's Ken. You do appointments. If you do appointments, you're going to get clients, right? Law of averages. Remember I said 10 opportunities, 1 lead, 10 leads, 5 appointments, 1 sale. Law of averages. Play the law of averages. Figure out what your law of averages are. You'll make money up the wazoo. Get out of your own way and just talk to people about business. Get out of your offices. This is the other thing. I travel the world on purpose to build my networks, to build my connections, to build strategic partnerships, to learn from people. A friend of mine, James Franco, said, "Dude, you got to pay to play." Right? I've been in rooms that I've been very uncomfortable in. Felt like the tiniest little rabbit in the room. Right? Because a lot of people in the room were way smarter and way bigger than I was. But I needed to be in that room and I needed to be uncomfortable, right, to learn. But I had to pay to get there. You know, I paid somebody $35,000 last month for 2 hours of their time. It's a very famous person in the business world. I'm not going to say who it is, but a very famous person. I paid him 35 grand for a conversation, and he knew me, but I still paid him 35 grand for that 2 hours, right?
Got the friends.
Those
and
2
family
hours
discount.
were gold. That was the friends and family discount. Yeah, that I got. Yeah, because you want to spend time with this person, you got to pay probably about 50 grand or more for an hour of his time. Yeah. So that 2 hours was life-changing for me. I got one thing out of that 2 hours and I went, well, I got it. Thank you very much. I can 10x that investment. You know, you got to pay to play. Get out of your office, go and hang out with business people. Get into the networks, be in the real world where other people are, because that's where you're going to learn. Sitting at your computer, cold emailing and messaging, social media, all that bullshit, you're not going to grow. Every top agency that I've ever worked, so I talk to a lot of people who are running 8-figure, 9-figure agencies, right? I sold one of my agencies to the biggest agency in the world, a company called WPP. They are a $38 billion marketing agency. They're the biggest agency on the planet. They own Ogilvy Mather, all these sorts of people, right? So they're big. So I've spoken to a lot of people in that realm, right? And here's where they get business. Here's what they will tell you, right? Every single person. Number one, Rolodex, network. They grow their business through networks, through connections, through meeting people, talking to people in real flesh, right? Their Rolodexes are some of the best Rolodexes in the world, and they keep growing that Rolodex, right? So that's number one. They get in people's faces, right? Number two, they hang out with their clients, right? They'll go to the trade shows, the events, the associations. They'll speak at the events. They'll be on panels at the events. They'll actually do trade show booths at the events. They will be in their market because they need to be there. They need to know what's going on, right? They grow their businesses through strategic partnerships, right? And joint venture. Strategic partnerships and joint venture, 2 different things. Strategic partnership is partnership referral network. JV is business opportunity, right? A strategic part, if I was growing a business today, and this is how I grow my businesses to $1 million revenue in like 2 to 3 months, that's my validation that I've got the right business, is I do a JV. That's the fastest way to $1 million in agency, is do a JV. Because somebody else is already working with your clients, right? And so they've already got the relationship. So how do you quid pro quo and get into that relationship? That's where you make money, If you talk to all the big guys, I'll tell you the biggest jumps they've ever made is in JV and referral partners. That's the biggest jumps, right? Talk to Alex Hormozy. What grew Gym Launch? Affiliate, strategic partners, right? That he doesn't talk about that a lot. He talks about getting on the phone and doing Facebook ads. But the real growth in Gym Launch was strategic partnerships. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer a question before my batteries run out. We've been on here for 2 hours,
Yeah,
David.
around,
Dude,
around
we've been
that
on 2
mark,
hours.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to answer. I'll take. Well, I've got a few. Thanks, Meta. Whoever Meta Davis is. If you've got a question, let me answer it for you. Because the tide's coming in, and I want to go for a surf. Nobody's got a question, dude. Seriously, be selfish. Be selfish. Ask me whatever you want. I'll try and help you out.
I got one for you.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
So one more thing when we were talking about kind of the difference between the sales process you're talking about and maybe what we do more so with Jeff. Let's see here. Maybe I'm conceptualizing this in the wrong way, but say when I first started, I was closing deals at $500 a month for just ads management. Okay.
Yep.
Now I've been moving more into charging, let's say $900 plus 20% of ad spend for Facebook ads management and appointment setting, booking estimates in for contractors. And that change in sales process has taken, you know, some confidence on my end for sure. And maybe the conversion rate during this time has actually gone up because of sales confidence and understanding the market and being confident that I can give the results. So what I'm looking at is, and I'm interested in the ideas you said about going to trade conferences and stuff like that. And I've actually been actively thinking about it. I think there's another guy in the agency space that talks about that kind of stuff a lot. The guy that wrote the book 7-Figure Agency, you probably know who I'm
Josh
talking about.
Nelson. Josh
Yeah.
Nelson.
I read his book, and so I see a lot of similarities there. But my question, I guess, is like, so if I want to jump from charging, let's say the 900 to charging twice as much.
Yep.
I'm basically looking at adding services in there that raise the perceived value, or what do you think?
Nope. Because you're not charging enough already.
You think?
So here's the thing, right? What's the outcome if somebody hires you at $900 a month? What are they getting? What's your average sale for your client?
Probably 7 or 8 grand.
Right? So they're getting 7 or 8 grand. They're paying you $900.
And they're probably making multiple a month because with the results that I'm seeing, people on average are getting, let's say if they spend, for these clients, if they spend about $40, $50 a day, I can probably get them one scheduled estimate 5 days out of the week. So 5 estimates, 20 estimates a month. Even if they have a garbage salesperson, they should close 5.
Okay. So you already know that you're too cheap.
Yeah.
So don't change anything. Don't add anything. Right? What you want to do is take your current pricing of $900 a month, add 30% to that price. So now it's $1,200 bucks. Let's say $1,200 bucks, right? So now your next price above the $1,200 is $1,900, right? So when you sell the basic model at that $1,300 mark. You don't want people to buy that. That's just basic setup, right? What you want is a business development plan that's $1,900 a month or $2 grand a month, right? Let's say $1,950. By $1,950 a month, that's your business development plan, right? And then you've got another plan, which is more comprehensive plan with lead management, all that sort of stuff. That is your $10,000 a month product, right? The enchilada. So you're going to show people three prices. You're going to show people your current pricing increase by 30%. Then the next model up is what you're delivering right now as a service at that $2 grand mark, right? And then you're going to say, based on what we've talked about, and based on the fact that most of our clients invest at this level, the $2 grand mark, which of these programs do you believe you should be investing in? And guess what they're going to say?
$2
They're
grand.
going to go to 2 grand, right? And so they're going to say, you're not going to increase, you're not going to add anything, you're just going to charge the money, right? Because you know right now the clients are getting 4 to 5 deals, right, at $900. You know that they're making money, right?
Yeah.
And so paying you 2 grand is inconsequential. You have more problem with the price than the customer does. So you just need to accept that we just should be charging this level. In fact, I'd be charging 3 a month, right? But it's too much of a leap from the standard pricing. You need to lift up the standing price of about $1,500, $1,800, and then you go to $2,900 on the second price, right? So
And
that's the
you're-
one you say, look, this is the program that people buy, the one in the middle, the one you're suggesting. This is the one that people do. If we're going to do bare bones, right, minimal results, just at least get the functionality, most people, just to get started, they'll do this, right? But the majority of people we work with, this is the investment they make. And then we have the enchilada package where we can go all in and we can create the big thing, but that's like 5 times the price, right? So what's going to happen? They're going to go, oh, I will do the one that everybody buys, the one in the middle, right? Because they're going to select it themselves. You don't have to tell them. They're going to go, no, I think we should go this way, and they're going to take that, right? So that's how you increase the price. Don't increase the service. Don't add any value. Just show the price gap, right? It's called decoy pricing. Yeah. So that's how you do it. You show 2 prices. Nobody wants the cheap price. Everybody wants to level up. Or what you want to do, and this is called elasticity, there's another strategy. So you can take a 2 grand deal and make it a 7 grand deal and bring it closer to the 9 grand deal, right? So you have the cheap pack that, no, it's too far away. Nobody wants that, but I want the one in the middle. And what you can do is a neat trick. You can take people up to the high price and say, listen, if you make this commitment today, I'll give you the big deal for this price. So now you've got a client paying you 7 grand a month, right? So that's you can transition. Say, listen, most people, I'll do your deal, right? If you want the enchilada, if you make that decision here and sign up for 12 months, here's what you do, and then you sell a big one. So that's a different tactical thing on pricing. But pricing is in your head. It's not the customer's head. It's your head. You own the price. You got to be uncomfortable with it. The more uncomfortable with the price are, the more you're going to sell. You already proved to yourself by increasing the price, your conversion rate went up because people valued what you did. If you did it at a cheap price, it's like, hey, $500 is nothing. How the hell can you make it work at $500? You're working hard. They're making money, right? So what you want to do is bring that price point up close to the 2 grand, as close as possible, right? And then make that first low price, bring that up a little bit closer. So normally you want to keep it within that 30% range. Because if it's too high, it's like, oh, that's a leap. But 30%, they'll just buy it. If you're charging $1,500 right now, you can charge 2 grand straight away because it's just the gap is $500, right? If you're charging 2 grand at 2.5, you can charge 3.5 easily for the same thing without incurring any costs. So it's just a mindset thing. So what you want to do is increase your price on the next deal. Another way to do that, if you want to get comfortable, is when you do your pitch and you do your proposal, or whatever you do, when you're writing the price in, write the price in that you're currently pricing and then delete it and then change the price by 20%. Then sell it at that 20% price increase. That's net profit you're making. And the next time you do a contract, same thing. You put that current pricing, you have to see it, then delete it, up the price by 20%. You'll find that you'll be able to do that 4 or 5 times and not lose any sales. So you could have just doubled the price. But for you to get comfortable, you can incrementally increase the price. So that's how you can increase. You're not increasing value. So we had a price point of we was charging like 3 grand a month. And then we went to 3.5. Then we went to 4. Then we went to 4.5. Then we went to 5. When we got to 6, we got resistance. So what we did was at 6, we just added more value and then charged 7. And then we just kept them going up. And then we had clients paying us, 15, 20 grand a month.
Okay. And then, so if I'm doing those price increases, do you think it's also important to be asking for more ad spend so it's more likely to get better results as well?
You should be directing the client to ad spend anyway.
Yeah.
You should be directing the client to ad spend.
I usually would put in my sales pitch like a minimum suggested ad budget because they'll always ask, well, how much do I need to spend on ads, right?
Well, you need to say, if you want to get great results, you need to spend this money.
Okay.
Right? Like there's a thing, I think there's a thing, it's called Gary.com, and it maps out the cost per action, cost per sale, and it will show you a negative campaign and a positive campaign. If you show people what it would take to get into the black rather than the red, they'll understand they need to step up their investment.
What's that tool called?
Geru, GERU.com. I think you get a lifetime deal for like $100 or $150. So,
Okay.
yeah. So that's what I would do. So yeah.
I
Jacob,
guess
you got a question? Oh, sorry,
Go ahead. You're good.
Dalton. Yeah,
Thank you.
Jacob, you got a question?
Yes, thank you. So what are your thoughts on industries for GHL setup and management? I come from like a tech sales background, so
Yep.
I'm new to advertising, but work for tech startups. They already
Mhm.
have, HubSpot, they're paying Salesforce a fortune, all of that. Do you think that tech companies, like software companies, would be a good target for GHL anyway?
Absolutely.
you-
Every single client that we have right
traditional-
now, we churn from HubSpot, we churn from Keep, we churn from
Good.
Salesforce, we churn from Zoho. Every client has a CRM that we go to. Any client that we go to, most of our clients are big companies or decent sized businesses. They all have CRMs. We convert all of them over to GHL.
Oh, so it's a rip and replace, or do they have both?
No, they'll have both, but they know that the functionality from a sales and marketing point of view works better in GHL. So they'll just buy GHL. Yeah, they rent it from us, by the way. They don't own anything. They don't own the snapshots, they don't own the emails, they don't own anything. They rent it from us. We build the system, we manage the system, and we rent it to them. If they stop paying, everything gets ripped out. Gone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, that's why they stick with you. That's why our clients are paying, 5, 10 grand a month. They're not going to disappear. Because if you're making 100 grand a month and you're paying me 10 grand, right? And you stop paying me $10,000 a month. So you stop paying me, and now you've lost that 100 grand a month. You do that for 3 months in a row, right? How's that going to work for you? You're not going to
Wow.
leave, right?
Yeah. So software
We've had
better
no
than-
churn. We've had
better
no
than
churn.
manufacturing industries.
No, I look. So people often ask me, "What's the best niche?" Right? They'll ask me, "What niche is the best niche?" They'll ask me. Okay, so here's the best niche. They have to be acquiring customers, right? That's number one. They have to be acquiring customers. Number two, they've got to maximize earning revenue per client when they acquire them. So they've got as much money as possible for what they deliver as possible for their customers. So number one, they've got to be acquiring customers consistently. Number two, they've got to be charging or making as much revenue share per client. And number three, they've got to be reselling, upselling, and getting referrals from their existing clients. So the best niche to go after is a business that is acquiring customers, that is maximizing revenue per client, and that is keeping those clients paying often, either once a year, once a month, once every 3 years. Now, what I've described to you, Jacob, is every fucking business on the planet is the best niche, right? Because if you're acquiring customers, you need to manage them somehow, do you not?
Yep.
You need something to, the only way you're going to grow is by managing the data. So we need GHL, right? We need functionality. Every business on the planet right now, the name of the game is lead management, lead generation, lead management, right? And automation. Got to get clients, got to pay to get clients. So we only work with companies that spend money on advertising. If I was in Facebook ads, I'm only going to work with people who run Facebook ads. I don't work with people who've never run Facebook ads. We only sell Facebook ads to people who actually pay for Facebook ads, because they're the easiest people to sell, right? People who don't run Facebook ads, I have to convince them as to why they have to run Facebook ads. And I have to convince them why they have to spend a lot of money. And I have to convince them as to how that's going to work. And so they don't tend to stick. And there's a reason why they don't run ads, is because they're too small. They can't afford to, right? So they can't stick. So we in our breakthrough in our PT agency, we were taking on, we were at 100 clients, and 70 of our 100 clients were the wrong customer. 70 clients were the wrong customer. Here's why: because we made them too busy. They had to stop advertising. So stop advertising, stop the management fee. Oh shit, John, we're too busy. I can't handle all these leads. We're really full, right? Can we stop? Can we stop marketing? No. Right? But they have to, because now they're going to burn leads, right? Which means we're going to put them out of business, not helping their business. So what happened was we found out who we really need to work with. We need to work with people who can grow, who are actually able to handle the capacity and grow. So as soon as we shifted our focus on that type of client, then all of a sudden we filled our client base, right? We've got 617 clients in that business that we actively manage. And their average sale for us is $5 grand a month. And we've got clients in that business paying us 35. I think the 30, we've got about 8% of our clients are paying 25 grand or more per month in physical therapy space for Facebook ads management, lead management, and email marketing. Yeah.
Wow.
And if they leave, they lose everything. It's sticky. And our clients sign up for 18 months to 3 years is the agreement. We don't do month to month. We don't do 3-month trials. We don't do any of that. We sign our clients because why would you leave if it's working, right? Why would you stop? Like stop in 3 months or stop in 6 months or stop in 12 months. Why would you? If it's working, we're working together. We're partners. So we sell people on a business development plan. We don't sell people on Facebook ads, right? So we're developing your business. We're adding revenue. We're building systems. We're helping you scale and grow your business. That's what we do. If we do that, guess what? You make money, right? Why would you leave? Now, we've had clients leave because some people in there get into, they say, oh, they're in physical therapy. It must be a really good hot niche. So we'll go and poach their clients and we'll charge them $1,500 a month, not $6,000 a month, right? And so some clients go, we can do the same thing for $1,500. And say, great, bye. Go away. We switch everything off. All of a sudden, they're losing 50 grand a month. Now they're working with a new ad agency that has to learn everything because they don't get to keep our ads. They don't get to keep our funnels. They don't get to keep our email marketing. We just give them a CSV file of all their leads and go, there you go. Thank you very much for coming. Right. And then now they've got to figure it out. And they think, this $1,500 a month person is going to figure it out for them. Right. Well, 4 months in, they've lost $200,000 in cash. They've lost it because they're no longer in our system. Right. And now they're spending money with a guy who isn't spending more than 2 or 3 grand a month on Facebook ads, right? Well, we spend $1 million a month on Facebook ads. Yeah. Who's gonna do a better job? The company that spends $1 million a month on Facebook ads, or the companies that are spending 5 or 10 grand a month on Facebook ads? Who will know more about Facebook advertising, right? Who would you rather work with? The company that generates 14,000 patient leads per month and $9 million worth of plan of care sold every month? Or do you want to work with the guy who's going to say, I'll get you some patients for $1,500 a month? Who are you going to work with? Who would you choose? Right? Yeah. We have the largest pain management database in the world. Yeah.
Wow.
And we email market to that database every single day. And our clients make bank. But it took us a while to figure that out. That didn't happen on day one, Jacob. That happened, it took years to build that. And we grew that business. So we had one funnel. We sold $30 million worth of that funnel before we built funnel number 2. We sold $30 million worth of one funnel before we built funnel number 2. Right? So we had one market, one offer, one conversion mechanism, right? One traffic source and one plan. That's it. And we sold the thing the same way. It's the most boring fucking business on the planet. Right? And most very successful businesses are boring. They're not exciting. The exciting businesses are the ones that go broke. The exciting businesses are Theranos. Right? I'm going to solve the blood problem of the world. Of course, that's exciting. Right? But the boring businesses, they're the ones that make money. So before we built funnel number 2, and we have 8 funnels now, but before we built funnel number 2, we sold $30 million of that one funnel before we built funnel number 2. Same sales approach. Think about it, right? You're selling the same thing over and you're going to get pretty good at selling the same thing, are you not? You're going to get good at the sales pitch. It's one offer, the same offer, one sales mechanism, same sales mechanism, one channel, one traffic source. We had one traffic source, right? So we went from 0 to 60 million in annual revenue within 7 years. We have sales pod teams that we've developed, SDRs, salespeople. Salespeople sell a particular product category. Our average salesperson is pulling in about 3 to 4 million in revenue a year for our company per salesperson. They're selling about $3 to $4 million each. They get paid really well. Our salespeople are some of the highest paid people on the planet. They earn more than I do. So, but that's mindset, right? There's work in that. That didn't happen overnight. There's 75 people in that company. There are 4 business partners that were working to build that business. That didn't happen overnight. There was work in that. But the number one priority, and this is it, this is what got us there, is we only focus on sales. My goal was to try and make $1 million worth of sales in one day. And we did it within It took us 9 months to be able to do 1 million in sales in one day. 9 months to figure it out. But when we did it, then we replicated it. We just kept on doing it.
Wow.
Okay.
Do you think
That's
people-
recurring. That's recurring revenue. Recurring. Yeah. Yeah. But it took a long time to figure that out. And we had a sandbox and we made lots of mistakes and we broke things and things went bad. And also it's like, that's life, right? Being in business for you guys is the most expensive business investment you're ever going to make. Being in business is like personal development, right? It's going to be the most expensive personal development program you ever spend money on, is actually owning a business. Because you're going to learn, you have to learn all the ups and downs and what is and what isn't work. There's people out there who've been trying to make it work and they just never make it work. And the reason why is they just can't get past their thought of how to make it work. Like they just haven't learned what they need to learn. So how do you learn? You got to do. You can't learn by osmosis. You know, I used to read all these personal help, self-help books and blah, blah, for years. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm no better off than what I was when I started reading these books. Right? I learned a lot of shit, but I didn't do anything about it. And that's why I wasn't better off. Right? You know, I sit here, I'm talking to you guys. I'm hoping some of this stuff that I shared with you, you're just going to apply and give it a shot. You know, Dalton here is going to go and double his prices. Right? And if you're only going to learn when you get that feedback, and no feedback is still feedback. Cold email, right? We run cold email. I run cold email, get no feedback, but it's still feedback. The no feedback is feedback. So what I'm going to do is, how do I improve that feedback, right? How do I get the feedback I want to get? Well, I've got to ask more questions. I've got to iterate my messaging. I've got to get better at actually communicating, or at least asking things that are relevant and plausible to the people I want to do business with. That's how you make that work, right? There is work in that, right? But then once it's working, there's momentum. It just gets better and better because you're going to iterate. Remember, it took us 9 months to do $1 million in one day, right? It didn't happen in month one or day one or week one, you know? And by the way, when we did that, in that week, everything went wrong. Everything that could go wrong in that week went wrong. It was terrible. It was terrible. But at the end of that, we went, holy shit, we did it, right? Now we know how to do that. We're going to replicate it, right? But it took 9 months to figure that out. We knew it was possible because I knew people that did it. That's why I thought, well, shit, if they can do it, we can do it. We just got to figure it out for ourselves and how it works for us, right? So yeah, so whatever you learn, one thing I did learn and have learned, like I just got back from Las Vegas. I was at an AI conference, and there was a guy that was speaking on the stage, and he was a copywriter, a guy called Mario. I'm trying to remember his surname now. This guy writes campaigns that generate $100 million plus. That's the type of copywriter he is, right? And so he shared a model, a framework of how he writes this amazing copy. And I literally took a screenshot and said, great, let's give it a shot. And whilst he was talking, he hadn't finished his talk, I ran that email to a small list and we made money. I made about $7,000 in about an hour, taking an idea off a screenshot, right, off the stage, putting it into practice, sending it to a list that I haven't emailed for like 4 or 5 months. So to me, it was a cold list, and I made $7 grand. I thought, shit, let's do that again, right? How do I improve that, right? You know, so the more you take action on what you learn, the faster you're going to get the result and get the feedback and get the idea. And not everything, like I know that I'm talking a big game and all that sort of stuff, but I'm 40 years into this game, right? I've been broke 3 or 4 times in that 40 years, right? And I say to people, like, people go, oh, successful. If you haven't been broke enough, you'll never be successful, right? If you haven't, I've never been bankrupt. Thank God for that. I've never gone there, but I've gone to the place where I'm taking money out of a freaking cookie jar to go and buy some eggs so I can have lunch. I've been there a couple of times in my life, right? But if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am at today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I talk to a lot of developers and people who build, because we're in the finance game in one of our agencies. I talk to a lot of construction guys, and I say to people, the only construction guys I want to talk to are the guys who've been bankrupt at least 3 times. Because the guys who've been bankrupt 3 times, they know their shit. But the guys who've never been bankrupt, I don't want to know. The reason why is they haven't worked out what happens when it fails. And it can fail big time. It can fail. very big if you're playing with big numbers, right? But if you haven't had that experience of putting your ass on the wall, then how do you know? You know, and I learned that from a guy called Colin Yost. He had a development, and it was an $80 million development, and the bank came in and called a margin call on it, and he had to pay the bank 70 million bucks. 70 million bucks. Come up with the cash, you got a month, and he couldn't do it, and he lost his development, right? And he nearly went. He didn't go bankrupt. He nearly went bankrupt, right? He nearly went bankrupt. And I was sitting there when this was all happening, all the lawyers, all legal, all the shit was happening, going down for Colin, and he said, "Dude, I'm falling forward flat on my face, but I'm still moving forward." Right? You know, I'm about to hit the ground. I'm about to go below the ground. That's how hard I'm going to hit the ground, but I'm still moving forward. I'm still going to go. I'm still hitting down. I said, this is a blimp today. This is my story today. It's not the story of my life, right? Your challenges are only a story in a moment. It's not a reflection of your entire life. So know that it's not forever. It's not, you know, going to go bad if it goes bad forever. You're just going to have a moment. It's a blip, right? If you can accept that, then I've got to have a lot of blips, dude. If I don't have a lot of blips, I'm not making any money, right? You know, like if I don't have a lot of problems, I'm telling you seriously, I need big problems. I need big problems, because if I don't have a lot of problems, go to a cemetery somewhere in your city and just look out over the cemetery, and in there you'll see all the people who've got no problems, right? They're the people who don't have to worry. They got nothing to worry about. Me, I want to make sure I've got something to worry about, right? Something worthwhile, something that I want to do, right? So understand you've chosen this vehicle as an opportunity for yourself, right? What does that opportunity look like when it's realized in a way that it supports your aspirations? And if that's something that's important to you, then you're going to make it happen. It doesn't matter. You know, I sat down, it was really weird. I was at this conference. There was a 90-year-old guy at an AI conference, and he's telling me that he's using this technology to raise capital for philanthropic enterprises. He says, dude, I'm just trying to use AI to raise as much money as possible and give it to people who need the money. This guy's 90. This is his business. 90 years old. I'm going, what the fuck am I doing? You're 90. I got nothing to complain. He thinks he's at the start of his business at 90, you know? Dude, that's life. Yeah. There's a guy, David Stroh, that I met. He's retired. He had private jets. He was an accountant. He started a fucking ad agency, right? He's 86 years old, and he's decided, I want to do PPC. I want to do Google ads, right? And he joined I coached him, right? It came to me, I said, dude, you've got fucking private jet. What do you want to start an agency for, dude? Right? You can travel wherever you want. You know, you've got a flight crew, you've got a blah, blah, blah. What do you need an agency for? What do you want to do? He said, dude, I like the idea of marketing. I like the idea of advertising. I like Dynamic. I like Google. I want to do an ad agency, right? So not even 3 weeks in, first 3 clients, right? 2 months into his business, doing 30 grand a month in recurring revenue, 86. And he was living in Paris at the time, right? And all his clients are obviously in the US, right? But he was living in Paris. He said, why are you living in Paris? He said, well, because I can, right? I want to live in Paris. I want to be amongst French. He doesn't speak a word of French, but he wanted to live in Paris. So he chose to live in Paris. So he runs his PPC agency in Paris, and all his clients are in the United States, right? And he still runs it today, because he still hops in on my webinars every now and again. I see him. But today, David would be, what are we now? Oh, David would be at least 92. So a 92-year-old running a PPC agency for Google ads and still going strong, right? So there is hope for us all in this business. There's hope for us all. So hopefully wow, dude, is this the longest Zoom call you've ever had?
Yeah, I think so. Almost 3 hours right now. Yeah, but it's
So
packed with value.
Yeah. Dude, thank you for having me. Thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate your questions.
Thank you for your time.
Take one thing, if you can take one idea from what I'm teaching here, apply it, go and make it work. Say hi to Jeff Miller if you ever see him in person. If you do see him in person, give him a big hug and a kiss from me, because the dude is a rock star. So I really appreciate the fact that he had me on here, and I hope you are going to just crush it out there, because I know you will. You're in the right group. Jeff's awesome.
Appreciate your time, John. It was
Take care, everybody.
full pack with value. Appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Take care,
Have a
everybody.
good one. Yep. Bye.
All right.
Bye, guys.